uh, Hello, everybody. You know, I keep doing my streams. I keep forgetting I did intros for them. So I thought I'd use it tonight. So tonight we have a special guest with us. We have Arda. Arda deals a lot with the trans community and what society and religion, the effects that it has on the trans community. Mm-hmm. So I decided to not find out anything about Arda except for that background. And I figured we'd let her talk about herself a little bit, and then we can ask some questions. You guys feel free, of course, to throw questions in the chat. I'll keep an eye on it. So Arda, it's all you, honey.
Okay. So this is what's going to blow people away. I'm a minister, but I am a humanist minister, and that is a real thing. So people say, well, what does that mean to be a humanist minister? Well, first and foremost, I'm an atheist, but I went to seminary. I had a career. I was an executive leader in an international business for about 20 years. And I had been studying philosophy and anthropology and human behavior and the potential of human development almost my entire life. But I was obsessed with with religion as a kid. So I was just always a seeker. And finally, I ended up at an interfaith, interspiritual seminary here in New York City. Oh. And it was an incredible experience, but all it did was really reconfirm the fact that I am an atheist. But even though I am ordained, and yes, I'm a minister, I like to think of minister as a verb rather than a title. Right. And I don't, I meet people where they are, right? So if somebody needs for me to speak to them about in Christian lingo or in Muslim lingo or in, pagan lingo, I'm able to do it because that's what you study at an interfaith seminary. You have to essentially live those religions and immerse yourself in them to understand the practices and understand the beliefs and that kind of thing. Excellent. And what I found was, I've always been an ally, right? I've always had friends in the alphabet mafia. I've grown up with them. I started working with the New York City mayor's office with Charlene McRae, with the mayor's wife, and a group of progressive spiritual leaders to start creating programs for LGBTQ kids because they were getting, kind of left to the wayside. Because, they can't go to shelters like Covenant House, right? Like these Catholic places, because they get abused there. Nobody does anything for them. A lot of them outgrow certain places. By the time they're 18, they're on their own. And they just didn't have the support. So we started creating this program, the NYC Unity Project, with all types of resources, for these kids. Now, through that, I got asked to open the LGBTQ People of Color Mental Health Conference. Excellent. So I went and did that downtown, and then I stayed to listen, and I stayed to learn. And you think right? You think because you have gay friends, you think because you have trans friends, but really, what do I, as a straight cis woman, really know? Right. That day, and it messes me up almost, like I could start crying just thinking about it. What I learned that day about what the trans community deals with, especially transgender women of color. Mm-hmm.
It's unpleasant.
It left me dumbfounded. And they actually did a tribute. This was like in the spring or summer. They did a tribute for the number of trans women that had been killed just up until that point in the year. Wow. It went on for 20 minutes. Mm-hmm. And nobody
just to
talks
read
about
off
it.
all the names.
Just reading off all the names.
Oh my
20
God.
minutes. Nobody talks about it. Mainstream media doesn't talk about it. They don't care because trans people are invisible, especially trans women are just invisible to them. And that sent me on a mission where I was like, you know what? This is it. I will dedicate everything I have to this.
Right. And it goes without saying that's very admirable, because it is. It's, you know, it's it doesn't even directly affect you, and you feel so much about it that you're and here's Jenny.
Most people do remain indifferent too. So most people will have the same view as you, and then they'll say, "Oh, I'm still going to stay on the fence." So I appreciate that you're actually acting on it.
I don't know how anyone. I don't know how anyone who could physically go and experience and see this not be affected by it.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, it's and I've worked with these people, and, you know, on a personal level. And what broke my heart the most was so many of these same people that were ostracized and you know, vilified by their religious communities were still looking for validation from the people that cause them this harm.
Yep.
And that's what made me say, you know what? Then I'm going to be what they need me to be able to support them. And if that means fighting evangelicals tooth and nail over, you know, scripture or whatever, I don't like doing that stuff. But if I have to do it because it's going to help, you know, the trans kid who's suffering over this and doesn't want to give up their belief in God, I'm not going to force my opinion on them. I'm going to do what's best for them.
Right. And yeah, you know, that's the biggest issue we have, is everybody trying to force what's good for them onto someone else.
Right. I don't force my atheist.
None of us are the same. Not even like all the families that go to Catholic church every day. They're not the same either. You know, everybody's different. And we need to quit forcing our ideals and what we think is right and what we think the world should be onto other people. It's none of our business, personally.
As I heard it so eloquently put the other day, I just want a piss.
Yeah, right. So let me bring Jenny in on this. Jenny, Arda, Jenny.
Hi, Jenny.
Nice to
Jenny
meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Is trans, and she is a huge member of our community, and she's she's amazing. She really is. She's brilliant, and I think that you two will have a great conversation. That's really why I wanted her on here, because I know she can keep up with you.
Great.
And, you know, I mean, I'm a lesbian, but it's like you were saying, I don't know. You know, my kid's trans, and I don't know what he's going through. You know, he seems to be thriving well for the first 9 months in, you know, but and luckily he's going to counseling too, because where he's at, the doctors require that, and I love it. And he was already going before that, but now he's engaged more in therapy. So I think that's one of the biggest problems is you have these kids that they're shunned by their families, and they're under 18, and the parents have control over that insurance card. They can't even go see a freaking doctor or a therapist or anybody to talk about it.
Yeah. And the unfortunate thing is there really aren't accessible resources, easily accessible resources for these kids.
Right.
And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to change that. I've partnered with actually a fellow seminarian. Her name is Carla, Rev Carla, and we are in the midst of building this nonprofit. It's called Pneuma Soul Center for Spiritual Transformation. And we're doing specifically LGBTQ programming and support.
Nice.
And it's, I mean, if you believe it or not, there's a huge community on TikTok, and she's got like 300,000 followers. And a lot of them are young LGBTQ plus kids, you know, and the horror stories they are sharing with us about what's being done to them. You know, I had this one young trans this beautiful young trans man. He was like 31 years old. His mother, and he knew it was coming. So I said to him, don't go to her house. You know what she's going to do. They called them one of these nutty preachers, basically trying to pray the trans out of him. You know,
Get the demons out.
Oh my God.
Yes.
So most gay conversion therapy from my experience is locking someone in a room, abusing them, or physically assaulting them. I think that needs to be known. Gay conversion therapy is beating somebody up.
Yeah, they beat them. They put them through electric shock therapy. Yeah. They shock them until they quit thinking that. Do you think women are hot? Yes, I do. Yeah, that's what they do to people.
Compliance is not switching who you are. When someone's just compliant, they're just telling you what you want to hear so they can get out of there, you know?
Right. And, you know, that's one of the reasons I hated Pence so much, because Pence was very active in that, trying to convert people back, you know, and shock the gay or trans out of them or whatever.
Wasn't he on the ground floor?
Wasn't he for the state he was from? Yeah, I think is it Illinois or Indiana?
Indiana.
Thank you.
Yeah, people have no idea how dangerous that man is.
Pence is someone who makes me suddenly feel an awful lot less gay and an awful lot more asexual.
Well, Pence is part of the umbrella as places like the Heritage Foundation, who are funding TERFs in the UK because they couldn't do it here. You know, it's this giant umbrella of hatred that they have.
Oh yeah, being on Turf Island sucks.
I could imagine.
I would.
Except they are funding it here. They give money to Family Research Council and Focus on Family, who, of course, are the people who wrote all the bills that are being introduced in all the state legislators around at this very moment, which they're choosing to do at this time so that they can also author all the voting rights legislation to remove voting rights from so many people and use each of them as a diversion against the other.
And they're also suing the state of California for all of our civil rights acts, and the fact that if you maliciously misgender someone, you will be held accountable by the law. And so they're suing the state of California to get that off the books because they want people to be able to be bigots.
Yeah, I had a fun repressed memory come up yesterday of my granddad saying if any of the family turned out to be LGBT, he'd soon fix that, which was fun. And so it's just like, well, you've seen me with a boy, you've not done anything, and I'm AMAB, so we shall see how long that lasts.
How do you think we decolonize ourselves? How do we it's always at the good part. My internet skipped, I apologize. How do we address the issue
of decolonization?
No, I'm saying, how do we decolonize ourselves of all the hatred for trans people? What's the process? Yeah, exactly. I asked it.
We won't see that. We won't, and I'm being very honest. We won't see that in our lifetime.
Mm-hmm. Right.
This ideology, this really got bad when evangelicalism got involved. Ronald Reagan is to blame for a lot of this.
Yes, he is.
Quite frankly, because
you're the 30th person I've heard say that in the last week.
He is. You know, it's because of him, because he is the one that really brought religion into politics, and you know, really getting Billy Graham involved as an advisor, and he pushed that rugged individualism ideology, and it's this very patriarchal ideology. It's very American to be, you know, rooted in this patriarchal ideology, despite the fact that every psychosocial school of thought says that we have to integrate these qualities, like rugged individualism, with the collective, with the community. It can't be just one or the other. And we have gone so far to the other side because of Reagan, that it's, you know, it's so prevalent. It's so prevalent in our society. And this is a heteronormative, patriarchal society. It's good. I do have hope because I'm seeing incredible things in the younger generation. You know, like the 20-somethings and younger. I have so much hope. I think 2 generations from now, 2 to 3 generations from now, we're going to be looking at a substantially different world.
Oh, I agree with that.
Yeah,
I absolutely agree with that.
So for frame of reference, Arda, I'm Gen Z. So I think if like my generation's kids, if we can keep progressing, they might have a less fucked up world slightly.
I agree.
I am not as optimistic. When Reagan, I don't know how old you are, but I'm really old. And
You're not that old.
I was working in the campaigns in those years, and we knew what Ronald Reagan was going to be, and what we look back and see him as having done. We all predicted that this is going to happen. We had papers written about this is what's going to happen. We had flow charts about the theocracy that they were trying to bring into the United States government, and it's the Republican Party established a long-term game plan back then, and they have continued on it since then for 40 years now, and they are almost at their end result. They are that close, and it's because people ignored us back then. They said, "Oh, you're just overreacting." No, that's just conspiracy talk, and it's like, no. See the papers they wrote that say this, you know? and just nobody believed us, and it just has gotten worse and worse and worse and worse, and finally we're at the typical American situation where the walls are caving in, and now we ask for ways to fix the walls. You know, we're late again.
Well, you know, the biggest problem I think that we have, I'm just going to interject real quick and then I'll shut back up, is that the government wants us all divided. If we all got together and agreed, they would be screwed. And I think they love to keep us divided.
It's easy, but it's easy to scare religious zealots because my existence, Sam's, Jenny's, yours, B, our existence is an affront to their lives, which is right now we have 28 states voting for anti-trans legislation right now at this very moment, you know.
I mean, multiple I can't remember who they are off the top of my head. I have to go back and look, but I know of like at least a couple of Republicans who have said the Republicans can only keep winning so long as not everyone votes.
That's correct. They did say that.
Now you know why they're removing all the voting rights.
That's right. One of them actually said it's the quality, not the quantity of vote that should count.
What the F does that even mean?
It means that they don't want people of color.
It means
they read those papers that you're supposed to live by. Have they read those? Any of them?
No, that's the
point.
I think they mean white cishet house owners when they say of quality.
Yeah, you know, and people they kind of looked at me crazy in where I live. If your house is over a certain amount of property value, Donald Trump hooked up people at the end of his presidency. He hooked up his constituency because he wanted them to keep voting Republican. He was basically giving money that this country does not have to people who have home value over $700,000. And all you had to do was apply for this, and this, and all of a sudden you got hundreds of $1,000s back. You know, he was helping out his own people.
Makes me sick.
It's just a never-ending cycle. And I said this 20 years ago when we were allowing evangelicals to creep into the Texas school system. Look at the Texas school system now. You know, if we don't stop them if we don't stop them immediately, it's gonna be a fight, and it's gonna be another never-ending fight. I'm sorry. As a person of color, these revolving doors get boring after a while.
Does anybody see the relation of religions keep causing war? Does anybody see? Is it just me?
No, I think most people who are even a infinitesimally small amount of woke can see that. And I can't
Look,
believe
and yes, religions do cause war, but if it wasn't religion, it would be something else.
Well, of
Absolutely.
course.
Remember, this
Humans
country,
cause war.
we are colonizers.
Mhm.
This country was built on white supremacy. I mean, look at this idea of manifest destiny, that they were coming in. It was their God-given right to come in and take over and slaughter these indigenous people, because it was their divine prophecy. And,
Right.
this is a white supremacist ideology.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
You
I
know?
mean, should we say Germany in the 40s was copying its homework off America in the 1700s.
Oh, because we perfected the apartheid South. We had perfected it at that point. Jim Crow, everything was in full effect. We were showing people how to control other people.
And don't forget, two-spirit or transgendered people have existed since the beginning of time. It is the colonizers that tried to destroy them and force their religion on them. Look at the Mahu in Hawaii. They are a third gender and they're revered. And they carry on the tradition and they teach the sacred dances. And, when Hawaii was colonized, they tried to completely destroy them. The tradition still lives on, but, not the way it did.
And,
Well, of
and
course
look
not.
at, and look at every other Native American tribe in the continent.
Yes.
It was common for everyone to have two-spirit individuals. They
were considered healers and important and valued members, very important members of the society. All of this class workshop that we're doing, it's called God is Gay, but it's basically, where there's a scriptural portion that my partner will be facilitating. There's a scientific portion that I'm going to be speaking to. And with all the research that I've done on genetics, it is shocking to me that we don't have the appropriate language from a medical perspective to really talk about this in a simple way, because someone can present as female or male and chromosomally be the complete opposite.
Mm-hmm.
And most people don't know that. There are all these things that can happen in the stages of development that will create a they, them, and people just don't, or someone who is biologically male that presents as female. It's just, there are so many variables that people don't know about and nobody's talking about it.
Sidebar, I would like to have a private discussion with you at length at one of these days.
Are you speaking to me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, she talks to us all the time. She's
Yeah,
I know her like every other day.
Yeah,
Jenny's
she knows.
definitely talking to you.
Yeah, Jenny can DM any of us at any given point.
Absolutely.
Well, I tell you what I'll do, Jenny, if Arda, I will exchange your information on Twitter,
yeah,
and then
course.
you guys can get a hold of each other. Okay.
And also, can we address the attack on children right now that the religious right is doing through legislation? It's out of control and ridiculous. What are your thoughts on that?
It's horrifying. It's horrifying in every sense of the word. And again, the most unfortunate thing about this is these people have no idea what kind of damage they're doing to these kids. They genuinely don't know, because they don't take the time to get to learn. And until we get to a point where it's normal and we teach these things in school, it's going to be this way. Mm-hmm. We have to change an entire culture. We have to change our entire culture, and it's going to take time. But the way we do that is through education. Right. There's a friend of mine, Reverend Yolanda is her name, and she does a drag queen. Now, she's a trans woman, but she does drag queen story hour.
Awesome.
At the Brooklyn Museum.
Cool.
And it's filled with kids. You know, it's for children.
Right.
This is how children learn.
Exactly. That's what I tell. See, that's half the problem is they keep these kids so sheltered and they feed them this same line that they've been fed their entire life as well. And it just keeps going like that. And no one breaks the cycle because these kids, then they get to be adults and they look around and they go, what the fuck? And they drop religion and hopefully, but that's what's happening. The trend's going in that direction. You know, people that are hitting like 16, 18, 20 some odd years old right now, they're backing away from religion because I don't know, maybe they're thinking more logically than we did at that age. I'm not sure.
You also remember though, we're still living in a society where there are large groups of parents who are afraid to have the schools teach their children about menstruation.
I know, that's what I'm seeing.
So on that note, it depends on where you live, because here in California we try. You know, you can't hear we absolutely try to respect everybody. It's not saying that it doesn't happen. There's bullies here. There's, you know, this is just like anywhere else. But I think you have to start somewhere. And we have Drag Time Story Hour. It's nothing for me to take my son to West Hollywood and go to Starbucks or walk around, or even in Hollywood. We, you know, I always talk about Hollywood. It's also a good place to go get some food. I'll take my son down there. In Los Angeles, people under the LGBTQIA umbrella are a little bit more integrated into society, as I would imagine New York. I've been there. Yeah. You know, so someone is me, I'm a little bit more appalled when I hear things like this across the South and in other states. Because
there are other countries, trust me.
You know,
there are other countries.
I know. I was about to say. I was
like other planets.
It feels like a different country. Mm-hmm. It honestly feels like a completely different country. And so I think we need to constantly emphasize that we're here. That's why I put these flags up, to remind people that people that look like me are from here and we're born here. You know, so.
You make a really good point. In my previous life, I traveled incessantly for my job, and I spent a lot of time in the South and in the Midwest. And when I say it's a different planet, it is a different planet.
People that don't live there, they just have no idea.
No idea.
Just a little background on me. I've been in all 48 contiguous states in a truck. I have experienced almost every single bit of culture we have, like as far as how people treat each other, you know, the backwoods country places, the southern places. And I mean, I've been not served at a restaurant for an hour and had to get up and just start getting food out of the buffet because people looked at me and they were like, oh, dyke, they wouldn't serve me. I've had that happen to me. But anyways, it's crazy. The difference, and people who have never, you should literally just go out sometime and drive through one of those states and just stop and look at people and then just leave. You know, because it's really quite interesting, but it's really quite sad.
I always tell the story, and I'm sure you guys are tired of hearing about it. In Mississippi, a young person looked at me and asked me what part of England I was from, because they had never seen someone of my complexion speaking, but I'm from the West Coast. Like, this is just how we talk, you know? And I told him I'm a temp from Chiswick because I watch too much Doctor Who, but that's a different story for a different game. But this person legitimately thought I was from a different country. And my ex-girlfriend, she still will send me a text every once in a while and just be like, how's it going, Mr. Temp from Chiswick? You know, still giving me a hard time about it, you know? But we live in, I've been to Savannah, Georgia. I have cousins, I jokingly say they're still fighting Reconstruction. Still to this day.
It's important though. I mean, we are definitely condemning the flyover states in this discussion. And there's a lot of good reasons to do that. I mean, I've been to St. Louis and experienced the bigotry and stuff there. And but I've also been to Minneapolis, which is one of the absolutely most liberal places you'll ever go to, and was one of the places that were in the forefront of transgender treatment and understanding and counseling, and it still is. So, you know, I'm defending the Midwest because born and raised here.
By
So,
no
I
means
think
am I.
Milwaukee, but there are some places that are not as bad as others.
You're right. There are pockets. There are absolutely pockets that are more liberal and open-minded, and not every single place is like that. But the ones that are really something. They're
Oh,
really something.
I am sorry, Cadence. I left you down there. I was waiting for a break, and then we just kept going. I apologize. Cadence, thanks for coming.
Hey, that's no problem at all.
I appreciate it. Anyways, carry on. I'll quit being an interrupter. So, Arda, you currently live in New York City?
I do.
And you work in that area. So, before you moved to New York City, with the area you lived in before, did you
I've
also
always
see the
been
same
here.
stuff? You've always been in New York.
Oh yeah,
Okay.
I grew up in New Jersey.
Oh,
And,
okay.
I grew up in northern New Jersey, and then I just hopped over the bridge and
A lot of
made my
people
way
do
to
that. Yeah.
And I have, however, I'm still flirting with the idea of moving to California. I spent so much time in California in my previous life. I would spend like 2 weeks out of the month, 4 times a year in California. And I still love California so much, and I'm very much an East Coast person, but California calls to me.
Right.
So.
Right. Well, sometimes you gotta follow that. That's why I ended up in the high desert of the Southwest. I'm from the Northeast. So.
Are you from the Northeast?
Yeah. I've lived all
You
all
can
around.
move into Will's place when he goes to Australia.
Yeah. That's right. We could just sell you his house, and you just slide right into that easy shit.
I do live in the beautiful suburbs of Los Angeles. I do.
Do you? Lucky.
Right.
It's a slice of paradise. We have issues like anywhere else, but like I can walk around at 9, 10 at night. People don't, I could literally tell the cops to F off. Literally, like
where are you? Where in LA are you?
I don't want to dox myself too much.
Oh, okay. Oh, no. Okay.
I'm like, I'm in the suburbs of Los Angeles. I lived in Los Angeles when I was in my 20s. I just don't have the heart. Like, I just didn't want to I used to live in MacArthur Park, and they have major issues going on right now. So the
concept of not being able to mouse off a cop is bizarre to me. I see people do that regularly.
Oh my gosh. No, you get shot here.
Yeah, and in Los Angeles as well. He lives. It's sad though, because it's socioeconomic. Like I've been pulled over, a cop look at my license and been like, "What are you doing on this side of town? What are you doing over here? What are you doing?" Or I've had cops pull me over and be like, "Oh, okay," and they let me go. Because I probably live like a block from them, It's
right.
Yeah.
Oh, wait a minute, I know you.
No, California, but
true.
California is not all smiles and handshakes. We with the influx of the Trumpers, it showed us how much mass movements can take over people's minds. Mm-hmm. So here in the land of the left, which is California, we had Trump rallies and people lost their mind. And then when we all went to the voting booth, the entire state was so blue you could see it from outer space, So, people are susceptible to mass movements. They're susceptible to hatred, to stereotypes, and that's why I constantly overemphasize that Black trans women are becoming an endangered species in a place like Los Angeles. It's something that I feel like in every stream I should just get out and say it. I should just come up and say it and then move on with whatever I was going to say, because no one's talking about it.
Right. Although I think you'd find that most of the trans POC women have been have been murdered in places like Dallas and Houston, and Texas has been just like the center of it.
Absolutely, and I think it's something that we need to bring to the forefront, and we need to say like, hey,
absolutely,
there's an epidemic going on. There's another epidemic going on in this country,
Well, I think that speaks to several epidemics that we have going all at once. We have the epidemic of trans hatred. Okay, mm-hmm. We have the epidemic of murder, people being violent to that point, and murder rates are technically down, but not really. I'm sorry, I lost my train.
Oh, you're fine.
Like we
You're
said,
fine.
it depends on where you live.
Oh, not when the brain's empty.
Well, you know, the one thing I've found going around the United States is and this should be obvious, but I'll say it anyway. The major cities in any given area are more diverse. And the farther you go out away from the big cities, the less diverse and the more religious and the more Christian or whatever these people are. And, you know, you go out to like farming communities. Oh my, they're all about God. Like they talk, oh God, I need some rain, you know, God, I need good crops. You know, they do that all the time.
They're less diverse, but they're also less well-funded and less educated.
And yeah, I was heading in that direction. Thank you.
I was shocked here in California. We had farmers for Trump. People were standing on street corners. I was shocked in Central.
Let me just touch on that Trump phenomenon for a moment. What that man did was, Trump was the zeitgeist.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he just caught the zeitgeist. And what he did not create racism. All he did was peel back the layers and reveal what has been there all along.
Exactly.
And he empowered them and he gave them a voice. So what's happening is all of these disenfranchised, frankly, white people, all these mediocre white people that have been so angry have now been given this platform to point their finger and blame everybody else for their problems. What better than to have a president that hates the same people that you do and gives you the platform to yell and scream and be public about it, right? So there is a massive intersection between white supremacy, QAnon, evangelical Christianity, and New Age spirituality. You know, so there's this really weird intersection, and it has all just come to fruition. It came to fruition in the past 4 years. And to be frank, I'm not that sad that it happened, because we need to see what we're dealing with.
Oh, I prefer my enemy tell me to my face they're my enemy. I prefer so, you know.
We were talking about that the other night. Well, I was like, yeah, just tell me you hate me. At least I know where you stand. I'm good.
What can't be seen, can't be fixed.
Right.
And you've got, you know, people that I've known my entire life, I've had to cut out because they're white supremacists. And you know, and I didn't know that.
I tend to see it as better a knife in their hand than my back.
Absolutely.
I'm a little like no nonsense when it comes to people like that. So I have absolutely no sympathy for people on that other side, because there's no talking to people like that. No, if you don't think that I should exist, then the conversation's over.
Yeah, that's not even a conversation to be had. Yeah,
that's what I'm saying.
You're not even. I'm not the only, and I say this about when it comes to evangelicals or people that attack the LGBTQ community, religious people. If it were up to me, you don't even get a minute of my time. I'm not going to waste my breath on you. But when I do, but there are times that I do, and I'll tell you why. Those LGBTQ kids need to see that somebody's sticking up for them.
Hell yeah.
That somebody's going to fight for them. And somebody's going to go toe to toe with these religious lunatics, these zealots,
a voice
for them
that is offering truth, that is offering accurate scientific information, that is pointing out the deception that all of their information and how they present it is created, and how it's being beaten down on your head to make you look like a fool when push comes to shove. I cannot believe that there are so many legislators in Arkansas, since we're talking about them right now, who are actually voting on this bathroom bill after they've been, you know, excoriated for the last several years, and are supported, even when they have a video in front of their face, like the one that's going around right now from TikTok of the two transgender men who go into the women's room because Bill HB 1882 says that we can't use the men's room anymore. And for them to not understand what they're doing with such a blatant example, it's what is wrong with these men? What is wrong with them? This is not just politics. There's something wrong with people who think like that.
We are a threat to their lives. Our existence is a threat to them. How can you fight that?
I very much noticed that there is a bit of an issue with, statistically speaking, trans women being in more danger, but trans men facing a lot more erasure and getting a lot more shit for it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that a lot of the time people, when they're making arguments against trans people, are making arguments almost exclusively against trans women, and they forget trans men exist. Because for argument's sake, with people who went on about being super straight, if it was a man who was saying he was super straight, that puts trans men in his dating category effectively.
Right.
Which I know a fair few trans men just from hanging around LGBT spaces, and I do not think that they would be at all attracted to any of them.
Right. You know, I keep telling straight guys I know that gay men really don't want them. They're not nice enough for them.
They're terrified that gay men, straight men are terrified that gay men are going to treat them the way they treat women.
Yes.
The way straight men treat women.
Ooh, I had thought of that.
I mean, also, I think that they get, and this is just from having had conversations with one of my partners who's studying gender theory in psych. They were saying to me the other day that actually studies suggest that anytime a man that thinks he's straight finds out that someone else is LGBT, that tends to cause an increase in stereotypically masculine traits because he feels threatened, even if it's like, because if it's by a man, it's like it doesn't want to be seen as less manly than the gay man. If it's a lesbian, doesn't want to be outdone by a lesbian.
I have to admit, I have used that thing you spoke of just before, when there's some cis man who's goes, oh, these gays are what if they come up to me and and it's like, dude, no way. They're not going to be interested in you.
That's what I told him. I said, you guys are all too dirty and filthy, and you don't have enough style, and you're not, like gay men want clean men.
So
as that crap.
As an expert, if you've ever thought that to yourself and you're a cis guy, no one wants you. That person does not. As an expert, and if
the cis straight, white chicks or whatever, they want you. Nobody else wants you. Not the lesbians, not the gay men.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But there's one thing I want to circle back around to, which is repressed homosexuality in people and how people act out violently. So I always try to reach across the aisle, and I always jokingly say, like, oh, the closet cases are sending me pictures and stuff. But the truth is, I try to be nice to people because I know how hard it is. I know how hard it is to be true to yourself, to say, hey, I'm bi, I'm gay, I'm this, or I'm that. So what can we do to make it more acceptable in all communities, not just the LGBTQIA, in allyship and anything? What can we do to be like, hey, well, come to the dark side. We have cookies and hugs, Like
it's not on you to do anything.
Yeah.
It's really not.
Yeah.
It's not on the community. It's not on the LGBTQ plus community to do anything. What more can you do?
I agree.
What can you do for people that are condemning you just for existing?
Well, see, I think
stop doing something, then you're part of the problem. You're laying down for them.
Yeah. There's a difference between
stand up and fight, even if it's just holding a line, arm in arm.
Just like recently when I got in a fight with a race realist, and I got trashed for it, but like I fight racism. Sorry. Spoiler, Godless Sewing will chime in if someone's saying racist things or platforming racist people. You know, that's why I ask these questions, because I'm much more from the militant side.
You know that the highest rate of suicide is among straight white cis men in this country.
Wow.
Why do you think that is?
Because they can't be feminine. They have to be the manly man, and they have to play sports, and they have to grab their crotch and make grunting noises.
And
if they do anything else,
but they themselves are suffering, and they don't even realize it.
Yeah.
And toxic masculinity is deadly, not just for others, but for the cis white males themselves. They have the highest, that demographic has the highest rate of suicide in this country, and they can't see how they themselves are suffering and how poisoned they are.
It can't possibly be higher than trans children.
That demographic actually is dying younger as well too. So the cis straight white males, that if you could look it up, and especially in certain places, I saw data from Missouri, and this was more because of weight, but the average cis white male was not living past 45. And it was a factor of everything. You know, it was health, the food we eat, the hatred we have, you know, but I think we definitely need to look into that. We need to look into why people are dying young.
2020 was the first year in, I think, 100 years or something like that, that the age expectancy of American males dropped.
Really?
It's the actuarial tables.
Depending on where you live, it's sad.
Yeah.
Well, you know,
I think that.
Go ahead, Sam.
I think that a big thing there as well is that they're not only dying younger from like suicide statistics and stuff when you take an average, but also the amount of stress they're put under because of it decreases their life expectancy. And I think that while there's a general lesson to be learned there, that maybe we need to try and restructure society in the West, as it were, to reduce the amount of stress because of how fast-paced everything is.
Well,
I think it's also a bit of an indication that maybe something needs to be done at the kind of more formative level to make sure they understand that they don't have to be toxically masculine.
See, but my generation, I'm from the 80s, okay? And so in the 80s, we had massacres around the world, and a lot of countries made legislation to stop guns coming into their countries, okay? Guess what country didn't do it? Was America. So if you look at TV from the 80s, people are walking around with magnums, you know, guns are in everything. It was ingrained in our culture to say, if you're
guns, cigarettes, and white men.
if you're an American, you have the right to shoot whatever you want, you know. So when I was a kid, we got fed this extremely unhealthy ideal. I was talking about G.I. Joe the other day. Sergeant Slaughter would come on every morning and basically do a recruitment speech. You know, this propaganda and nationalism is still something that we suffer from in America. We are still, you know, they no longer say, oh, for the white male. They say, oh, in America, we do this. In America, we do this. We're othering ourselves from other people, you know.
Well, we have from the beginning. Again, it's American exceptionalism.
Exactly.
What we call American exceptionalism. You know, there are 7 privileges in Anglo-American culture. And I was talking about this before, rugged individualism versus the collective, you know, the collective humanity, rationalism versus emotionalism, competition over cooperation, status over relationship, action over passivity, future-oriented rather than being in the present or being connected to the past. And we privilege certainty over paradox or mystery and complexity. So to be American is to mirror those values. And we hold people who represent those ideals as the ultimate, right? And to not be those ideals is considered un-American.
But if you also take those ideals and you list them under the heading of symptoms of mental illness, no, it's
no, I'm laughing because it's true.
Yeah, no, it's like sad but funny.
They tend to match.
Yeah.
The classic male, by definition, is a form of mental illness. And I know what that sounds like to say, but when you look at it, symptoms versus the behaviors and rewards that they get for these behaviors, there's not much difference. That's just not.
I agree with you. Like,
You're right.
back to the argument I recently had with a race realist. They sent me over 20-something messages because they felt I wasn't getting what they were saying. The truth is, there just wasn't an argument there anymore. There just was, there's nothing to be. There's nothing to
I'm the
say.
one. Shut up.
Yeah, like, okay.
When I worked on psychiatric units, on closed units and stuff, the most difficult thing that we faced with male patients was getting past their masculinity. And if you were able to do that, then you had some glimmer of hope that you were going to be able to help this person walk out of there feeling like they're not going to kill themselves anymore or kill someone else. But you had to get past the masculinity first.
I often say that the reason I think that, I have one asshole brother in my family, but I have 3 of them that are amazing. And I think the reason they are amazing men, and they are the definition of, I will stand up and fight for you. I got your back. I will hold out a chair. I will open a door for you. They are gentlemen. And that's because we were raised by a woman. And that toxic masculinity left the house when I was 8. And it was so much more, oh, look, we can be ourselves more now, But my mother she was firm. She was stern. She didn't take any crap. She whooped our butts. She smacked us when we got older, all that good shit. But she taught us to not judge people. She taught us to love everybody until they gave you a reason to not like them anymore. She taught us to be open-minded and listen and be respectful and all that good shit. And there was no masculinity involved in that. It was a getting older Italian teacher. That's what she was.
I think sometimes we forget to
tiny
teach.
Thing.
Sorry, I think because I come from, I always jokingly say I come from that was the last generation to get their ass kicked by their parents. I think at some point we stopped teaching personal responsibility. And so I'm saying that because as an employer, there are people of a certain age who come into the workplace now entitled, don't have any skills at all, but expect certain things.
Right.
And previous generations just did not act like that. I was taught, hey, you start at the bottom and you work your way up to the top. That's just the way it was. You go to school, you get your paper, you get your welding certificate, you do what you got to do. And It just seems like more people are expecting things and not wanting to work for them. But I also don't agree with the harsh way that I was raised. So there has to be a balance where we teach men specifically personal responsibility. Because I think what's happening is, like, is Arda is your name? Arda. Like Arda said, there's a lot of disenfranchised human beings in America right now who feel that we owe them something and they haven't done anything to earn it in any way, shape, or form. So I think we need to
taking personal responsibility in our culture today has deteriorated from actually saying mea culpa, let me pay retribution or whatever for what I've done and that sort of thing, to standing up there and say, yeah, I did a bad thing. I shouldn't have done that. And they go on with their life unchanged, unaffected, unfined, unprisoned, and it means nothing. It means absolutely nothing to have personal responsibility now. It's bullshit.
I think there's a tremendous lack of self-awareness.
Mm-hmm.
Most people just have no self-awareness whatsoever. And I actually teach emotional agility, what psychologist Susan David calls emotional agility. to major institutions and major universities working with leadership teams.
Right.
And it's phenomenal. I mean, it's astounding to see how unaware most people are.
Mm-hmm.
And especially, I find it especially with men. They're disconnected in a way that is just, it's frightening, you know, it's frightening. And again, it's a cultural thing.
Yeah.
This is our culture.
It feels, I think that something I've noticed is that the UK seems to be trying to emulate the culture of the US, which
That's
bothers
unfortunate.
me. And I've noticed something kind of similar, though to a lesser extent. And it's like, as someone who was raised male, but I guess through a bizarre set of circumstances, I've ended up being at least half self-aware. I look around and I'm like, a lot of the people around me are not self-aware to the point where I can ask them leading questions and they won't realize where my questions are leading till we get to the results. Like, I can say, okay, so do you think about your gender a lot? Yeah. Okay, and so do you think you'd be more comfortable if your body was the opposite sex? Yeah. All right, well, here's what transgender means. Okay, so do you not think that makes you would make you fit the description of being trans? Oh, well, when you put it like that.
Well, it's the same,
no, it's true. I feel like a lot of people are not self-aware at all. They don't see what's going on. They have no clue. They like go do their job. They go to the grocery store. They go home, and they keep thinking that same thing. And it's like they have social blinders on.
These are the same people who, when you go to the Trump rally and you interview them and you ask them, should the government get involved with your Medicare? They scream and yell about, keep the government out of my Medicare. Okay.
You know, this is one of my frustrations.
But those same men can decide on abortions.
So I've actually ran into this online because I work with homeless people. I work with the LGBTQIA plus community as a job. And I also work with special needs adults. I'm one of those people, I say, go volunteer, go find an organization, go help people. You know, because that's the only way we can really combat this, you know, with boots on the ground, because internet activism is one thing. But like, you know, when I turn this computer off on the weekends, I go out, you know, I don't want to dox myself too much, but I work hard to help the people around me, you know, and I think that that's something that we can do, because sometimes I feel helpless. Like, what can I do to help my community and the people that are affected around me? And I do what I can. And I think it's important to stress that, you know, without putting yourself in harm, do what you can.
You know, there's one thing that I have done everywhere I've lived in all 9 or 10 states. If a kid looks at me and says, is that a girl or a boy? Because they don't understand. That's what short hair means when you live that life of shelter. I always talk to them. Nope, I'm a girl. And they look, and the parent always is like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I'm like, no, it's fine. Let the kid ask me questions. That's what I do. That's something I've always done. I've done it since 2002, about a year after I came out. That's what I do. If someone has a question, if somebody looks at me funny, I say, yeah, what's up? And they look at me and I'm like, no, ask. I can ask you anything. Sure. How else are you going to learn? What are you going to Google it? Watch Fox News?
Yeah.
God, no. Ask me. I'll tell you the truth.
Yeah,
unless they're a redneck parent, then they'll just say blame me for trying to recruit them.
You know what? I'm going to say
only
something.
when I hand them a glass of water, because it's in the water.
My father was a total redneck hillbilly from Georgia, Vietnam veteran, and he was one of the most open-minded human beings that I have ever come across. So not every, you know, hillbilly is completely closed-minded, you know.
That's true.
There's hope out there.
You know what's giving me hope? I'm sorry, continue.
My preferred version of activism is, okay, if you have invasive questions, come ask them to me. I'm an open book. Don't ask other trans people about their genitals. But if you have to ask someone, let it be me because I'm comfortable with that.
So
There you go.
I still don't understand that. In an everyday setting, I don't walk up to anyone and say, "So what kind of genitals do you have?" What are
Right.
you doing? Like I don't get that. That bothers me. Deeply
Did
bothers
you
me.
ever walk up to, if we like segregated bathrooms by penis size? You'd be like, oh nope, I'm sorry, your penis isn't big enough. You got to go to the little boys' room over there. I wonder how they'd like that.
They did when I was in high school, and that's why I had to go to the girls' room. It was so small.
Oh, I love you, Jenny. Arda, you were trying to say something. You want to continue with that?
I forgot what it was.
Oh, carry
Yeah,
on.
I
Let me
step
know when
out
you
and get a
remember.
cup of coffee. Please.
So, Cadence, how are you doing?
I am actually doing fine now that I'm awake and have coffee.
Coffee's
Coffee's
important.
I was literally napping on the couch with the stream open in the background, and when your voices came on, it woke me up. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's true. I want to see if I can get into this one.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you can make it, Cadence.
How's the
Definitely.
situation where you live?
I live in the middle of fucking nowhere, Louisiana, literally central Louisiana.
Mm.
So it's pretty bad. Especially, I'm in a little bitty town.
I've spent a lot of time in Louisiana. I know it well, especially in some little bitty towns. So I know exactly what you mean.
Yep, and I see it. I see all the racism and everything everywhere because there's a Native American casino in the middle of the town, and the rest of the town is sprinkled with Spanish.
Mhm.
And then I actually live in the quote unquote black part of town, but I am a recovering cis white male, so.
Ooh, I'm a recovering Catholic. We have someone. We're both recovering. That's great. You spend your whole life recovering from that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I actually did the whole join the military when I was still 17 to try to get to be that masculine person because I was always picked on in my life and I was too girly, this, that, the other thing, all that other bullshit.
You know, what's funny about that is this is how bad toxic masculinity is, okay? I'm gonna show you an extreme example. So all these guys have to be manly. I've been kind of manly my whole life, and no one's really given a shit. I mean, before I came out and started dating women, then people started giving a shit. But no one really noticed. Like, I've always worn guys' clothes. I've never been girly. I haven't had makeup on since I was 18. I was forced to put it on for a wedding. Like, I've never been that girly person. And I stood next to these guys at work, and they're all standing around, you know, with their thumbs hitched in their pockets, talking about shit, man stuff, and how cross-dressing and trans is so fucked up and da-da-da-da. And I walked over and I said, wait a minute, you don't have a problem with me? And they're like, what are you talking about? I'm like, well, you don't have a problem with me. And they're like, I don't understand what you mean. I said, I cross-dress every day. I buy all my shit in the men's section. Bras. It's the only thing I can't find in the men's section that I wear. It's the only thing I buy in the women's section. But you guys don't say anything about that. And they just looked at me. I'm like, what? There's no difference. There's no difference between a guy wanting to wear a dress or be someone with male genitalia wanting to be what they're comfortable with, and me wearing men's clothing. Why do you care? But see, that's what it is. It's worse for guys in that department.
Yes.
It's more okay for women to be lesbians or women to be this or that. No, they don't want us to be trans. But it's always worse on guys. Anytime you question your masculinity or your gender or whatever, it's always the guys that get the hell first.
And see, that's why my daily life, like my work life, I go presenting full male because, well, to put it frankly, white male privilege or male privilege in general is a real fucking thing. And if I didn't take advantage of that, not gonna lie, I'm taking advantage of it. If I didn't, I wouldn't have a job. I would probably be one of those statistics, one of the suicide statistics. Otherwise,
Very fair. I mean, I think that a big kind of factor in it is that I've noticed a big chunk of what's considered like mainstream comedy includes things like taking the mick out of men for wearing a dress, for example. Like, there's a difference between a man putting on a dress because her man in dress, and a man putting on a dress because, honestly, most guys look really fucking good in a dress.
I think also, though, a lot of toxic masculinity is the theater. It's the presentation. So saying, "Oh, I don't like this person
Alpha
because
male."
yeah, you know, because quite honestly, as the bi guy, like I'll call someone out, and most of those like Trumpers, tough guys, they don't even know how to fight, and they don't want to fight. They're only tough when they're in a crowd of 15, 20 of them. That's why I call a lot of them closeted, because I think a lot of it is just repressed homophobia, self-hatred, hatred in general. You know, it's one of those things.
You know, back
It's called
before
shadow.
I wanted.
What's that?
Oh,
It's called shadow.
Mm-hmm. Oh, sorry.
No, explain that.
What you're seeing right now, this big blowback, is Donald Trump was the manifestation of America's shadow side.
Mm-hmm.
So all these things that we haven't dealt with for so many years, racism, you know, all the stuff that kind of just swam below the surface that we kind of like to gloss over because we had a black president and we thought we arrived because of it. You know what I mean? Like that kind of thing.
Yep.
We're good.
Yep.
All that stuff is shadow. And if you continue to ignore the shadow side, eventually it's going to surface in violent ways. And that goes for individuals. You know, it goes for individuals, it goes for communities, it goes for nations. If you do not address the shadow side, it's going to manifest in horrible and violent ways. Donald Trump was a manifestation of America's shadow. So now we're dealing with all the things that have been repressed for so long. And some of it is, yes, it's absolutely, it's, you know, closeted homosexuality because, you know, I just listed all the privileges, all the things that are admired, you know, in Anglo-American culture. Homosexuality, transgenderism is the antithesis. Black transgender women are the antithesis. The opposite end of the spectrum, as you know, for American, what we value as American privilege. That's why there's such a blowback against them.
I should hook you up with Robert Reed's information because his sister is a trans female, big, tall, black trans female.
Oh, does Robert have a trans sister? I didn't realize that.
Yes, his used to be brother is now his sister. Yes. And I said, boy,
Cool. I only found Robert
she is like
recently.
the minority. She is the minority, you know?
And the most invisible demographic in the country.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes. And they live in Texas.
Oof.
Oh my God.
Oh, yikes.
I don't even know how that goes. I think she lives there still.
So
I think pretty much his whole family's there.
been everywhere except Hawaii as far as in America. Is that my Wi-Fi? Oh, so I've been everywhere except for Hawaii. And there are some definite scary pockets in this country. Pretty much from when you leave New Mexico until you hit Georgia.
Listen, there are scary pockets in every state. All you have to do is look at the ACLU hate map. We have the KKK in New York. In New York, in New Jersey, there are KKK chapters here.
We had a Trump rally in my town. You know, people were shocked. People were shocked.
In northern Wisconsin and Minnesota and Michigan. You know, they'll cut your heart out. They don't like anyone.
I agree.
Yeah.
So
there are pockets there are pockets of extremism in lots of places. It's concerning, but it is noticeably pockets, which does mean that they are collecting in places that are identifiable, at least.
I didn't realize how prevalent it was until right before the election. I was driving on the freeway and there was a giant Trump size, the size of the Hollywood sign, that the Trumpers had erected on the side of the freeway, which coincidentally they put where all the minority people would have to drive past that. So whoever
of course they did.
They knew what they were doing because they put it on the one side of town where it's mainly brown people. Well, let's be fair. In California, white people are a minority here, so it's not that difficult. But like they put it on the extreme, minority side of town.
Right.
And I think that's part of the problem is just like the Heritage Foundation, how I always go off about the TERFs in the UK. They're well funded. And that's the problem. There's one TERF who is so well funded. She's built an entire empire selling crappy t-shirts on YouTube, and just spouting out her hatred.
Parker?
Well, hate sells. It's like hate is like sex. It sells. There's so many people out there so miserable with their own lives, and misery loves company, and they want other people to be miserable too. And instead of saying, "Oh, hey, I should do some self-investigation, look at myself, and why am I unhappy when everything keeps changing around me and I'm so unhappy?" Oh, I'm just gonna hate somebody. It's like Will. I was telling you about my buddy back in 2004, and we were discussing the hatred for lesbians and gays just in general. And he said, well, they hated all the black people, and then they hated the Jewish people, and you're just the new N-word on the block. And eventually people will stop hating you and they'll find someone else and you'll be okay. And then we got to the 9/11 happened, and all this stuff started happening. And now we hate like Muslims, people from Saudi Arabia or Iraq. Those are the people we hate now. So now now it's the trans people's turn. And he was right. He was right. We just go through phases of hate. The hate never stops. They just pick somebody new.
They all intersect. Misogyny, white supremacy, racism, all the isms and ogenies that, make up this society, they all intersect at some point.
Absolutely.
And transgender people are the most hated group in the world. Every culture I can think of has something that they want to do to get rid of trans people. Everywhere. I don't know anywhere that it's safe.
Oh, Arda, I did want to ask you. So you said you guys are setting up like conferences, talks, help. So where are you guys at in that process?
Well, my partner is in Indiana. I'm in New York City. We just brought on we have a whole team that we're working with. She has about 300,000 followers on TikTok. And we've been doing master classes, but I'm in the process of creating this entire curriculum. And part of that curriculum is going to be for the LGBTQ plus community. Okay. So the first workshop we're doing is called God is Gay. And that's a masterclass. It's a free masterclass. It's going to be the intro. That's on May 5th at 1 p.m. And that's the one where she'll be doing the spiritual part and I'll be doing the scientific part.
Okay.
And then on May 19th, and that's going to be kind of like the intro to the hidden homosexual.
Awesome.
Right, which is being facilitated by a friend and former colleague of mine. His name is Dr. Jose Roman, who brilliant man. And moving forward, we're just going to continue. I'm bringing on specifically LGBTQ plus counselors.
Nice.
Trans counselors. And what's so interesting, I kept thinking, when we first started doing this, I said, well, why would any LGBTQ plus kid want to talk to me? They're going to want to talk to somebody they can relate to.
Right.
But I realized that's not the case, because a lot of these kids, like I said, are looking for validation from people like me. And that kills me.
Right.
It kills me. So for the time being,
I actually know somebody in New Jersey that does trans counseling.
Really?
It's my ex-girlfriend. Yeah, she's amazing.
You should send me her name because
I should. I really should. She probably.
Absolutely.
And her family's from she grew up in Long Island, so she knows New York. Her sister's a cop in New York.
Great.
Yeah.
So
you know what? I'll hook you up with her.
You should. Please do.
I think it would be amazing. Because
we're building that team.
What she's trying to do is pull these trans kids away from these therapists who have no idea what they're saying because they're messing them up worse. So she's like, I have so much clientele, I can't keep track. I work all the time. But every time another one comes to me, I talk to them and I go, yes, sure, I'll take another client. Because they're these therapists that don't know what they're doing. They're like family counselors and they have no background, no study in it. And they're destroying these kids.
You know,
it's driving her crazy, and she's like soon to be married to her girlfriend. So you know she's in the LGBT community, and she's watching all this, and she's going, no.
Yeah,
I know so many people who like didn't realize, and then when they realized, their compassion drove them so hard. Like I know so many allies who work so fucking hard. And, like. I wish I could explain how much I appreciate them, but like I don't know how to verbalize that.
No, I agree with you, Sam, because in especially in an area like LA where I live, we couldn't do it without allies. You know, and that's why I always will jokingly say, like, oh, people just walk around in peace. It's because of allies. It's because we just live our lives here. You know. That's the one thing I miss about living in the city is that it's kind of like you don't exist. It's not that you don't exist. It's just you're just like everybody else.
Yeah, you just that's how it is here in New York.
Exactly.
You know, I mean, it's just the LGBTQ plus community is part of the fabric of the city. You know, you're the backbone of the city. We have the best gay pride parade here. You know what I mean? This is
it's true. It's huge.
It's on my list.
We know, you know, a neighborhood is going to be spectacular when the gays start moving in.
Yeah.
You know,
because they won't live in a nasty ass place. They will bitch and complain
start opening amazing restaurants.
Yes.
Like uptown.
There is a reason. Sorry,
no, go ahead, please.
There is a reason that me and a couple of my mates want to live near the gay village in Manchester.
Do you know
it's probably beautiful? It's
LA,
probably magnificent.
The movie stars, they ruined West Hollywood only because they moved there, and so now the prices are just outrageous to live in that area. You know, but like you said, it's the cleanest area in Los Angeles. It is the most well kept area. Hollywood, West Hollywood, North Hollywood. You know, all of it.
I was looking to move further uptown, and a friend of mine, a cis straight white guy nonetheless, says to me, "Oh, Arda, you have to go check out like the Inwood area." He said all the gays are moving in now. He said it's clean. They're opening all these fantastic restaurants. He said, you know, you got to go where the gays are going.
That's true. No, it's true.
Sounds about right, honestly.
It is true.
Out here, when you see a man that's extremely buff, well kept, great shoes, he's a gay man. Because most straight men would not take that much time out, you know, to shine their shoes, to put real creases in their pants, you know, to go to the gym and look great, you know.
I spent all my hippie years in the Lower East Side of Milwaukee. And it was just the bohemian neighborhood in the city, and I watched it morph into the gay side of town, and watch all these properties that were just beat to hell because hippies got no money, and we're gentrified into this beautiful, stunning neighborhood that now only well-off gay people can afford to live in.
Yeah, it's like when a bunch of gay people move in and that accidentally gentrifies an area, that amuses me.
I just want to say real quick to Ox. Ox, don't be ashamed of it. Talk to them. Talk to anybody you know. Change it because they're going to listen to you quicker than anybody in the LGBTQ community. They will listen to that cis white guy that's a manly dude. You're the perfect person to talk to those kind of people.
I always say that someone like Ox is perfect to stop the cycle.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh
And
yeah.
he's sweet and he's
And
kind and he's open-minded and he's all
Absolutely.
inclusive and he's a big freaking dude, you know, like he's a manly man.
And see, that's
See, I find it really weird that like I will try and make friends with like a diverse group of people in terms of like sexuality and gender and stuff, and I usually do pretty well. But I really struggle with finding cishet friends because usually if they spend enough time hanging around me, they stop identifying as cishet.
Oh, Arda, I meant to ask you so are you guys doing this like every 2 weeks? Is that a cycle you're going to stay on, or?
It really, I'm literally just started creating the calendar.
Okay.
And
okay.
my, I just have these two classes. We have a third one coming up that hasn't been named yet. It's actually somebody else is doing it. So I'm just in the process of creating the curriculum. But if you have any suggestions, if there is, anything that you think would be really beneficial for the community, please feel free to send your thoughts my way.
Okay.
I have one of my business partners is the CEO for the Center for Black Equity, which is a black LGBTQ plus organization, and I get a lot of feedback from him.
Okay.
In the community he serves. So I am going to make sure we create what's needed.
Right.
Whatever, and if that means, for, again, a lot of these kids are still religious,
right.
So for some of them, it's helping them deconstruct out of that toxic theology.
Right.
And supporting them depending on where they want to go from there. Do they want to be spiritual but not religious? Do they want to, get away from religion? So we've got so many things that we're trying to do at once. Like we're just kind of slowly building the team. And
that just made me think too, because you're also looking at kids who believe in like crystal healing and stuff then.
Everything.
Okay.
Wow.
Kids that
This person I'm telling you about, her girlfriend is a crystal healing therapist.
Great.
Oh my God, I'm gonna hook you up, girl. You guys will you'll have a great time with these two. They're just fucking brilliant. They're a brilliant couple. You'll have a great time with them, and they're right there in New Jersey, so they could hop right over. And I was about to say goodbye to Cadence. Cadence had to run over to another stream, but thank you for coming in, Cadence. I really, really appreciate you.
Yeah. See, maybe I need to send my boyfriend your way, Arda, because he is a trans guy living in Texas.
Oh my goodness.
Which is always scary, right?
Absolutely.
But not only that, he's also a witch. So.
Oh, wonderful. Great.
Yeah, it's really funny. I'm pagan dating a witch and an occultist. Makes for interesting explaining to my Christian family.
Oh,
Sam, there's nothing
you know
boring
what?
about your relationships.
When people, it's so funny because we get these kids that are one of the counselors that we have on board is a pagan. She's also a Lukumi priestess. So when I was sending someone to get counseled by her, and she was like, oh no. She said, I'm sure she's wonderful, but just the idea of talking to somebody who was a pagan was, too much for her. And I said, honey, what do you think your ancestors were? I said, what do you think? Where do you think Christianity gets these rituals and all this stuff from? Where do you think it came from?
Absolutely.
And they have no idea.
Ernie, can I ask you about your client group? You're doing these things online, these classes. Is your client group out of that audience, or are you talking about folks that you see in a one-to-one in a brick and mortar situation?
Well, we're not seeing anybody brick and mortar right now because of COVID. Some of them we were, but now everything is online at the moment.
Okay, so you're doing one-on-one therapy and that sort of thing. Okay.
Oh yeah, absolutely. What we're about to start, I'm actually having somebody create the outline for me, is a monthly group that we're going to start, like a monthly group therapy session.
Nice.
And we'll limit it to 10 people, so they'll have the opportunity to build community.
Right.
You know,
when I came out in my day, it was the days of hippies and grassroots organizations and stuff like that. A friend of mine and I started the first, I'll use the term treatment center for transgender people in Milwaukee, way back in the early 80s. And it's, I'm thinking of this right now because of what Ox was saying earlier. Ox, you're in eastern North Carolina.
North Carolina. Yeah, he's right by the coast.
Yeah, it is absolutely essential that a community have a place to go. And if you know people, if you know kids and adults that need treatment of some sort, and there's nothing around there, get a hold of somebody like Aiden or
Arda.
It's
Nobody can get it right but me.
For people out in the middle of nowhere, especially, to get some treatment, to have some positive voices, to have some direction that they can hold on to, or these people are just going to be lost.
You know, the majority of the people that we are working with in counseling are from, you know, the Midwest.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they're from these small towns, and they're raised in this horrible evangelical culture that has literally ripped their souls to shreds. I mean, just if I told you some of these stories, you wouldn't. I mean, it is beyond me that people can treat their own children this way, or people in their community this way. It's just.
I say that regularly because we get a lot of LGBTQIA plus homeless people here from around America. And it's Pennsylvania. For some reason, the state of Pennsylvania sends their homeless people to Los Angeles.
Really?
I don't. Every other person, if you ask them, where are you from? Pennsylvania. It's it's the strangest thing. And this is just me, one person walking around asking people, you know. But it's just they come here because they know in Los Angeles they'll at least be protected.
Same thing here in New York City. Yeah. We have a lot of kids from the Midwest, and what happens is they were ending up on the street because there were no resources for them. There are no shelters that are specifically for them, or they age out of them, you know. And there was really nothing beyond like the Ali Forney Center, you know.
We have you know, it's so funny that when this conversation started, you brought up the Covenant House. They work with atheistic organizations. They work with LGBTQIA plus organizations. I forgot they were Catholic.
They're Catholic.
When you said that, I was like, oh, because one of their one of the houses they have, it's on Sunset Boulevard. It's like on one of the off streets, but they only take children. So, you know, they only take like 18 and over, and and on the streets of Los Angeles, we consider children 25 and under. So if you're homeless and you're 25 and under, you're still considered not a minor, but you're still carried under the same youth programs that we would do for someone who's 17.
Which is what needs to be done.
Yeah.
You know, that's what needs to be done.
You can't cut off the health one day after 18 years old.
Yeah.
And Covenant House is dangerous.
Politics.
What they do is, you know, they may work in conjunction, and I'm not saying all locations, but Covenant House is known for turning a blind eye when LGBTQ kids are being abused. Under their roofs.
Oh, yeah. Oh no, I'm not defending them at all. And also, the Church in Scientology, flat out, I wouldn't say they kidnap people, but they find homeless and vulnerable people, and they make them sign contracts. And they're
no worse than evangelicals.
Hey, we'll give you a job, we'll give you a house, you know, and then all of a sudden you're living in their facilities, and they target I say the gay community because I'm old, but they target the community, you know, and it's sad. We literally have to warn people, stay away from this organization, stay away from this organization, you know, because
a lot of these churches that claim to welcome everybody. Oh, we welcome everybody. We welcome everybody. They do passive conversion therapy.
Yeah.
You know?
See, I feel like when someone like comes out as LGBT and you kind of, when they start to kind of get into the community a bit, it almost feels like welcoming them into a new house for a housewarming party, but they moved into a dodgy neighborhood where you have to be like, and don't hang around that guy too much, stay off this street after dark, don't buy drugs off that guy.
Yeah.
So true.
Yeah.
I live in a little town now in Minnesota of 900 people, and Minnesota is just, it was established by Norwegians and stuff like this, and Northern Europeans. It's not a Catholic place. Milwaukee, Chicago, those were Catholic places. This is Lutheran up here, and it's different because Lutheranism doesn't have the same. I mean, it's bad. It's no fun being Lutheran. I was raised Lutheran, but it's not nearly as bad as being Catholic, and as far as how they abuse you and psychologically. But we don't have the evangelicals around here. I mean, there are some evangelical churches, of course, but they do not have the influence. They are not the majority, and so people, the gay people, I notice, are generally fairly comfortable living here and aren't getting crap all the time. I know parents of gay kids that say, "Oh yeah, my kid's gay. That's just fine." They're not bothered by it. But we're also 50 miles from Mayo Clinic, and that has a big influence. We're 150 miles from Minneapolis and all the treatment programs there. We're 25 miles from La Crosse, which has a couple excellent hospital facilities, including a branch of Mayo Clinic. And it's the resources that make the difference. You get these into the town, into an area, and the horrible negative forces have a wall that they have to cross, and they are not going to be easy. It's not going to be easily done because the treatment professionals, are going to stand in the way between the client and the negative forces, and do what they can to keep that kid or that adult out of that horrible environment.
Yeah.
So we need more treatment professionals badly.
Dave,
in mental health in general, but trans issues specifically.
Real quick, Arda, do you do YouTube? I don't have a YouTube channel.
Okay.
To be honest, we are in the process of developing all of that stuff. Your best bet, really, to get a feel of what I really do is TikTok. Is to follow me either on Instagram, but more TikTok, and it's under Rev REV _Arda.
Okay.
And Rev Arda on Instagram.
Okay.
And you'll see me mouth off a lot.
If anybody out in the chat is a social worker, a therapist of some sort, or you're related to one, or know one as a friend or something like that, and they have had questions or any interest at all in treating transgender people, there are excellent clinical instruction, or I don't want to say instruction manuals, but educational materials written specifically for therapists on how to work with transgender clients. You do a Google search and specify, be sure to get in, words like treatment and clinical and these kind of professional words, and you'll steer away from the consumer stuff. But there's literally dozens of books on how to improve your therapeutic setting for trans people.
Great, that's wonderful.
Yeah,
I knew you had to be on TikTok when you said the Alphabet Mafia.
Yeah. You said
almost
that,
everybody
yes.
Everybody I'm following on TikTok, it has the Alphabet Mafia at the bottom.
Yeah.
I just follow a bunch of lesbians. I'm an asshole. No, actually, that's not true. I do follow one trans guy, and he is amazing.
Jeffrey?
He's amazing.
Jeffrey Marsh?
Showed his... I don't know his name. Oh my God. I'm horrible. I'm bad with names. But yeah, anyways, he's amazing. He's going through one more surgery and he's done.
Oh wow.
And he's like,
I recommend you follow Jeffrey Marsh.
Okay.
My For You page is a bit of like educational stuff, a bit of like atheist content, and then mostly a mix of trans guys and then non-binary people and lesbians.
Sam, is Jammy Dodger on TikTok?
He may well be. If so, I've not stumbled across him yet.
I'm not. I'm of that demographic that's not on TikTok.
Honey, I'm a generation before you. I'm Gen Z. Gen X. I'm sorry. I'm Gen X.
I was going to say,
Z.
don't even give me any crap, Will, because I know I have like 8 years on you, and I know.
I
know.
know. It's the one platform I'm not on. It's the one.
I went on kicking and screaming.
I only recently.
I went on kicking and screaming.
Okay.
But because there's such,
you really do.
There's such a big
first of all,
LGBTQ plus community there,
Right.
and most of the people that have come to us for help have come through TikTok.
Really?
So yeah. Absolutely.
I'm just starting to get my follows down, and you want to follow almost everybody. There's so many brilliant people on that.
I know.
Being able to compress so much information in 1 minute. It's amazing what people are doing.
Arda, his name is Aiden, AIDEN _M365. He's just amazing. I don't even know how he was a female at any time. He just looks so good as a guy. I don't even, some people you can tell, when they're still transitioning, but.
Trans men are some of the most beautiful people.
I know. A little bit of femininity from the woman and then all the masculine to go with it. Yeah.
Gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous.
I'd actually kind of consider going maybe straight again. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
I gotcha. I know several trans guys who are they are fairly tall, and their policy is just whenever we're in the pub, they will be sitting at the end of our little row, so as to be no one's coming near any of the girls' drinks at all.
Oh, wow. Oh yeah, I've been roofied. I know what that's like. It's horrible. I was sick for 2 days.
So in LA, we have if someone even spots somebody putting something in someone else's drink, they'll go to jail. It is a no nonsense policy here.
Oh, good.
We do not play around with that. But I haven't, I stopped going to bar. I quit drinking a while ago, so I haven't been to a bar in a very long time. But even 8 years ago, it was heavily reinforced where you walk around with your drink. Great. Oh yeah, they don't play around here. But we had an unreal rash of people slipping things in other people's drinks.
There's a nail polish that can detect if something's been put in your drink.
Absolutely. And there's now cups that have been developed.
Oh, wow.
Wait a minute. Shut the front door. There's nail polish and cups that you can stick your finger in. It'll tell you if it's
college kids.
Oh, shit.
College
kids.
Oh, yeah.
Why did I come up with that? That bastard's rich. For a good cause, but rich.
It was a girl. It was a girl who created that nail polish.
Oh, I should have known. Yeah, it's super brilliant. Oh, yeah. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, pretty much. It's just that sort of shit would be because a lot of guys don't realize that sort of shit's necessary. I only realized recently I'm in the minority of assigned male at birth people who, whenever they get in a taxi, will make sure they've messed with their hair sufficiently to leave a few hairs in the footwell.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow.
The first thing I do when I get in the taxi is before I shut the door completely, I make sure the damn thing will unlock.
I'm from LA. We own cars. I wouldn't get in a taxi. If I'm in a taxi, someone stole my car and my credit card. If I'm in a
I've been in one taxi and one limo in my life. If I'm going somewhere, I have someone pick me up, or I get to rent a car, or I can't. I don't trust people.
Driving isn't really an option for me because it's fucking expensive here and I don't have a license.
Well, yeah. There had to be some downside of the UK, Sam.
Besides all the turfs.
We had that stream last night.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true.
No,
well,
salmon's
Arda,
perfect. Don't you pick on my
Are you guys setting up like do you have a website yet that I can throw out there? Or
you know what, the website is in the she has an old website which is kind of irrelevant. We have a new website that's going to be up by the end of the month.
Okay, please send me that when you have it going. I will throw it out everywhere.
Yeah, I absolutely.
Yeah, throw me that.
Yes.
For sure.
Yeah, I'll throw it on Twitter.
If you're interested, join us for that workshop on May 5th. It's only like 2 hours. It's free. It's going to be on, or, to anybody who would find it useful, especially if you have anybody that's LGBTQ plus, that's trying to recover from religion, has been traumatized by evangelical Christianity, that kind of thing.
So I'll just tell everybody that I know to come see you. Check.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
so,
our entire community.
Arda, have you got any contacts over at RFR?
Say that again?
Have you got any contacts over at the Recovering from Religion Foundation?
No.
What is your mission statement?
I just wrote it. We're literally
good question, Jen.
in the midst of putting up everything in the website. Let me pull it up for you. I just wrote all this for the web designer.
We're watching it in action, folks.
You're literally watching.
Let me know if you ever need any online help. I'm very capable. I'm looking for a job. No, I'm just.
Well, this is wonderful.
Well, here's the thing: we might need. We already, of course, we have a tech team, but we will probably need to expand as the calendar grows. And we get bigger and bigger, because I anticipate that we are going to grow. Let me see.
You will.
Exciting to me, because back in the hippie days and the grassroots organizations days, this is what I did. Is I went around and helped other places set up. We specialized in 24-hour crisis intervention hotlines, and teaching people how to write their own mission statement and how to get their self-incorporated and protected by law. And
the person who my partner in this is she's the founder of Pets Alive. So I don't know if you've ever heard of it. It's a nonprofit that they opened the first spay neuter clinic, and now they've over the years they've something like spay neutered 300,000 cats and dogs. So she's a mover and shaker, this lady, and she's in the middle of Indiana, and she does not play. And this is her mission, is to help people, because she's a recovered evangelical, but her mission is to help people recover from and basically escape, horrible religion.
Right.
Boy,
what did you say her name was? It's Rev what?
Her name, Rev Carla. You can actually, you'll see her on TikTok. If you go see her, she's got like 300,000 followers.
Carla with a K?
Yep. Okay. Rev, R-E-V, Carla, K-A-R-L-A.
Okay, I want everyone to remember that this is the moment where I'm going to stay up in the morning making a TikTok.
Oh, I already had. Well, see, the chick I was just dating was really into it. So I went on there because she kept like watching this stuff laughing. So now I have like, I don't know. I follow a lot of people on there.
See, I've noticed that a lot of my queer friends who use TikTok, if we ever happen to look at any of our straight friends' TikTok apps on the For You page, it just looks drastically different.
Does it really? I wouldn't know. I just follow a bunch of lesbians and 2 trans men and Arda. That's it. Everybody else is either gay or trans on
mine is all political. It's all political. Yeah. It's all social justice, and it's all LGBTQ plus. I have tons of I follow fantastic trans folks, like Jeffrey Marsh is one of them. I mean, just amazing. Political TikTok is a real thing, man.
Oh yeah, and I honestly dabble in politics a little bit. I don't know the ins and outs of politics, but I can tell you what's wrong.
I'm
all day
hyper
long.
political.
See, I somehow
who does the panda head?
Oh, say that again, Jenny. You and Sam ran over. What was that?
The guy does to protect his own identity. He has an image of a panda head that talks.
Really?
Yeah, and the guy is just he's brilliant and goes after all the Trump bullshit.
Oh, nice.
The Trumpies that are still following him and believing
panda head. Well, that's probably a good idea if he's going after those crazy narcissistic bastards to protect his identity.
He can destroy their conspiracy theories in 60 seconds.
There's a really ugly side to TikTok too. A really
there's an ugly side to every social media out there.
As much as I enjoy like paralegal TikTok and witch talk and shit, there is some really harmful stuff on there.
Yeah.
There's a lot of child pornography on there.
Are you serious?
Oh yeah. And it flies under the radar. And TikTok hasn't gotten their shit together yet. A friend of mine had said to me, she said, you must not remember. She goes, but Instagram was the same way in the beginning. She said there were literally pedophiles that were finding kids, where they lived and that kind of stuff through Instagram. They hadn't gotten their stuff together. She said, and TikTok is at that place right now. She said,
TikTok is trying. They're doing a thing that I've seen a couple of other social media platforms try and do, where they ban all kink content in an attempt to get rid of the chomos, but that doesn't function. So in a bit, they'll work out what does work.
TikTok's big problem right now is how the users will gang up to complain about somebody who's actually just completely legitimate and making sense out of conspiracies, and filing enough complaints that their platform gets yanked.
Yeah, it's incredible.
Oh God, we are such a messed up world, man.
Yeah,
there's so much correction that needs to be done. It's
look, the reality is, for as long as we exist in human form as we are, as long as we exist as we are as human beings, the world is always going to be like this.
Oh,
it's
absolutely.
Never going to be perfect, never going to be a utopia. The only thing that we can do is everything in our power to make it. I believe it's our responsibility to companion one another, to protect one another, to care for one another, unconditionally. That's the best that we can do in this life, because things are always going to be shit. There's always going to be racists. There's always going to be homophobes. There's always going to be transphobes. The world is never going to be a utopia. It's not. It may get better for a certain period of years, and then it'll swing back again.
Oh yeah.
And that's just the way it is. Yep. But we have to do the best that we can and be as kind to each other as we can and love each other as much as we can and fight the bullshit. You fight the bullshit hard.
Absolutely.
And honestly, that's why I love the YouTube community we're in. Because, I mean, you always get that one or two assholes here or there or whatever. But for the most part, we have each other's backs.
That's good.
We stand up for each other when the other people aren't around. We do fundraisers to help each other out. Like, we have a really awesome community, and I am so lucky to be in it. And that's exactly how I feel about it. We have some amazing people in this community. Yeah.
The next time we follow Carla on TikTok.
I already did.
Oh, okay. Go watch when you get a chance. Go watch some of her LGBTQ videos.
Okay.
And we try to get rid of as many of the nasty comments as we can, but she gets brutalized, man. I do too. And I delete, I can. Not for me. I don't care. Right. I have a lot of LGBTQ plus people that follow me. Right. I don't want them seeing that garbage.
Yeah. Exactly. And if you leave it up there, then are you condoning it?
Right.
Yeah, I would delete it too.
Carla,
or just the triggers.
She wears costumes. She's got a rainbow wig that she puts on. Like, she goes all out.
What's her address?
It's Rev Carla. That's all you have to look up. It's all
Carla
with
a K.
All lowercase. Yes, with a K.
Yeah.
2 words.
And then
1 word.
All 1 word. Yeah. And then Arla's is Rev _ Arda.
Right.
All lowercase.
I don't dress up and stuff. My videos are nowhere near as fun as
We'll
hers.
give it time.
Mine are mostly angry, to be honest. There's one video actually where I started out, it was the whole thing with Pope Francis when he said what he said about gay marriage. And I did the video saying, why is anybody surprised? You know, like, did you expect anything different? This man is embroiled. He's attached to the most corrupt, richest, hypocritical institution on the planet. You know, why did you expect anything different?
Me and Will have had some rants about the Catholic Church.
Yeah, well, the next video, because people have made some nasty comments, I lost my shit.
Did you?
I had a mouthful, and I went off on Christians. You'll see it if you go to my page. You'll see it.
Yeah, I'll check it out.
And I said, I'm not the kind of minister that's going to play nice with you. You know, I was like, I'm gonna call you what you are, and I went ape shit.
Right.
May I ask
You know, my brother point real quick, Jenny. My brother pointed out something funny. He said when Trump was with the Pope, you know how with everybody else he was like power moving the handshakes, but with the Pope he's like back here like, I'm little man. He has more money than I do. He's more important than anybody. Like, he literally treated the Pope with more respect, and he was more nervous around the Pope than he was any world leader. He was never nervous around that. He was always power tripping and trying to be big man. But with the Pope, he shut the fuck up, and he sat back there and fidgeted like a little kid. And if you guys don't think that the Catholic Church has more money and power than anybody, you're wrong. When Donald Trump knows it, and he's an ass, that should tell you something. Do you have any native blood in you, Arda?
No, but I am from Central and West Asia. So if you're asking, are you asking because of my appearance, or what is it that made you? I'm curious as to what made you ask that question.
I wanted to ask. Arda is a very pretty name, and I wondered where it came from.
That's actually, it's a Turkish name. It's an Armenian name as well.
Oh, Armenian.
But we are from. We are originally from a place called Abkhazia, which is like right below Georgia.
Okay.
And my mother's family migrated to Turkey when she was a little girl because Stalin was killing everybody. He was killing all the indigenous people in the area. And, you know, I'm from like indigenous mountain people.
Right.
And he was killing all of them. So they migrated to Turkey when my mother was a little girl.
Actually, Ox was asking. Ox is native. Well,
wow.
Damn near 100%, like 90% or something stupid. I don't know. He's up there, but he's over in he's over in North Carolina where they have a lot of the Lakota, a lot of big Lakota tribe there, and
I live on New York is Lenape land.
Oh, okay.
I'm living on Lenape land.
Nice. I bet they'd like to have it back one day.
I bet they would.
Ox said the cheeks and nose looks almost native. That's why he asked. Yeah. Yep. That's craziness. I'm glad your mom made it and had you.
Oh, my lineage would take 3 hours. They've all heard it. I'm not even gonna do it again.
Will is just a little bit of everything. Let me just put it that way. Like, he's more mutt than I am. I think.
If you open your eyes and if you've seen another person, I'm that. Pick a race. I'm that.
White, Hispanic, black dude.
With a Swiss
white Hispanic black dude. Is that what she said?
With a Swiss last name.
Yes.
My lineage, and I'm half black and half Mexican, but my on my mom's side, they were white, but they were from Mexico, and it's a long story. But my mom was the first person in 500 years to get with somebody who was a person of color. Yeah. So I've gotten, in my family, we had extensive DNA tests taken. So I know a little bit too much about my lineage. I know more than the average person. On both sides. On both sides. It's a great journey.
I have almost a fascination with my family, but sometimes I learn about it and I'm like, okay, so I've had some real pieces of work in my family.
I have as well. On my mom's side, on my dad's side, they were slaves from I had family that fought in I'm told basically from the inception of this country, they were slaves that are from my lineage that were here. Countless family members that fought for the Confederacy. You know, I kind of had to take it with a grain of salt, right? When I heard this, you know. And these were African American men fighting for the Confederacy, you know.
Well, you know, they messed with a lot of the POCs back then and said, "Well, if you fight, we'll free you." You know, knowing that they were probably going to die and never make it through that.
And by the time that it came around to recruiting, basically drafting the people of color, the war was already lost.
Right.
So it was kind of a last bastion kind of thing.
You know what? That's Wednesday nights. That's history.
Oh, I could go off, but it's just, and then
we'll
on my
talk
mom's
about
side,
that Wednesday, you slacker.
they were slave owners, you know. So it's lineage is insane. It's insane.
Do we need to have a open mic night on family lineage?
I get to share mine now. On my mom's side, we go as far back as the late 1600s, 1700s in North America, French fur trappers, and the families that they built with the Ojibwa Indians. And on my dad's side, we were in America till the 1700s, and then it's back to England. Where we can trace it back to the 1200s. So I'm like pretty white bread for the most part.
Cool. I'm Irish, English, Pennsylvania, Dutch, German, and Italian. I'm pretty much a quarter of each one of those. That's just how it works out. Now watch, years from now, I'll do a DNA test and be like, what? My parents were wrong. They are not right. Yeah. But for now, that's what I know.
And I want them to find African American in me, just so I can throw it at my redneck relatives.
Yeah.
No, I have an extremely racist uncle who was a sheriff in Los Angeles for over 30 years. So he grew this even more bigger inferiority complex where everybody was just trash. Long story short, you know, we got our blood taken, and my mom and her DNA test on the Spanish side, you can see on the map there's a link from Africa. So basically an African started the entire family because they all came from Spain, you know, and we're talking over the passage of time and and intermingling with people. But it just made me laugh because my uncle, who now has paper proof that there's black in his bloodline, still was like, nope, with proof. So even with proof, most people are just going to be like, nope.
Yeah.
You know.
See, my family are kind of from all over Europe, but mainly, like for the last few hundred years, have been settled in the UK.
My uncle is so bad though. He's Caucasian, so he tells people I'm white and he's Mexican. That's how much he hates himself, you know.
That's internalized racism.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's deeply internalized racism. Oh well, just like deeply internalized misogyny.
Yeah.
I don't
really unfortunate
that way. I am, I don't have a lot of the diversity that I know of yet. We haven't done the genetic test, but what I have, I'm really proud of. It's like, yeah, I want to know that I'm a piece of everything on the planet.
You should.
Yeah, well, because we really, if you go back far enough, we are.
Except
we all 30 to 50 generations. We all stem back from like the same African woman, essentially.
Exactly. I keep telling people they found her, they did testing. We are related to her.
Mm-hmm. Mitochondrial DNA.
There are actually multiple mitochondrial Eves, which are women everyone on the planet's related to.
Right.
So we're all most of those like 30th to 50th cousins.
I said this last night. I said that exact same thing last night.
It's the truth.
We're related, all of us.
Yeah, we are.
They've tracked it down to 7 different gene pools.
we're just so split off at this point that we don't have to worry about like having 2-headed babies or anything.
You know, seven's
Just
not that.
Don't marry your second cousin or before. You'll be fine.
It takes a couple generations for that.
Seven, that's scary, Jenny. That's scary. Do you know, we always brag in LA. We say, oh, we have a deep gene pool here. 7 generations, that's not that deep. That's like 2 toes in, you know.
Thank you, Sandy.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
Sandy.
funny. Oh, that's hilarious.
All I know for my lineage, all I know for a fact is that my great-grandparents came over around 1775, 1778. I don't have an exact number on that. And they came into Ellis Island, or not 17, I'm sorry, 1878. I said 17. They came in through Ellis Island and had 11 children. And they actually lived 100 miles apart in Italy. And if you made a V from Rome, one lived here, one lived there. And they didn't know each other. They met in Boston and realized that they only lived 100 miles apart in Italy and fell madly in love and had 11 children. And my grandmother, was one of them. She was number 7.
Wow. So
that's the only thing I know for sure. That and my dad, also on my grandfather, also on my mom's side, was a shock blonde, big baby blue-eyed fighting Irishman. He was a boxer in the Navy and everything, and fought during World War II and Vietnam, I believe. But he was a Navy gunner. So he would sit there on the deck and like shoot down ships and hope he didn't die.
TikTok.
So that's all I do know about my heritage. DNA very interesting though.
All I know for sure about my heritage is that something got fucked up in utero on me, and this is how I turned out. So,
so in closing, we've been going for like 2 hours. I think I'm going to go ahead and shut this down, or at the very minimum, let Arda out of here and let you guys just talk about whatever the hell you want. So May 5th will be the first class. May 19th will be the second one. The first one's called God is Gay.
God is Gay.
And everybody, once I get some information on that and I get some websites and everything, I will let everybody know. I'll Twitter everybody or put it in on my descriptions or something and get people connected. If you guys out there know anybody that's having problems and needs to listen to this, or maybe they're not trans at all and they just need to listen to it. Yeah. Send them Arda's way. Arda, thank you so much for coming. You are brilliant. I appreciate your heart and how invested you are in it. And it's amazing to see someone not directly connected in the community standing up and saying something. So thank you from all of us. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. And I'm sure I'll see you all again.
Absolutely. I better see you again. Anytime you want to do this again, you have me on Twitter, holler at me. I'll get a group together and we'll do it anytime.
Thank you so much, guys.
Well, nice to meet you.
It was nice to meet you.
Well, she's amazing.
Are you going to take us off the air?
Oh, no. I'm going to leave you guys right here. No, are you guys good to go? I was just letting her escape. You guys can talk if you want. And we'll keep going or we'll kill it. I don't care.
Oh, so
I will probably wrap up relatively soon, but we'll see.
Okay. Okay, Will ditched us, so fuck that broke Black Mountain over there. He left.
You haven't answered the question. Are we still on the air?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we're still on the air.
Oh yeah. I was just letting Arda out of here. I saw she was like doing stuff on her phone and had stuff to do, so I thought I'd let her escape because we could probably talk to her for like 5 hours. She's amazing. Ow!
Yeah, she's pretty smart. I'm
dude, not cool. Yeah, no, she's great. I actually already sent her a Twitter with my friend, and it's hard for me to say that. Like Jen and I are friends, but she's my ex. So how do you say that? But I sent I already got an email from Jen. I texted her during the stream, and I already sent it over to Arda, so they ought to have fun with that. They're only like 45 minutes away from each other or something. Like
my
ex is like right outside the city in Jersey.
While we've been chatting, I have already threatened my boyfriend to send him over to Arda.
I had to parent.
Thing.
I had to parent, so I had to disappear.
Oh, that parenting thing. God, that's rough. That's horrible. Are we missing anything on YouTube? Is there anybody we give a fuck about that we should be watching or anything? Or we're good to bullshit?
Movie night was canceled for again.
Okay, you answered my question. There you go.
Well, because that was my next question: is when does that start?
Well, just keeps trying to set up with the producer to cover it while she's gone, and they keep falling apart and not following through.
I liked the four episodes I saw. I saw you on like 3 of them. And then you guys stopped. I left right when I subscribed. It just stopped.
Wait a minute. Which channel do you guys do that on?
The Size Strike movie. Well, Size Strike is the name of the channel.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I liked it.
Yeah.
I liked it, especially when you kick the crap out of Nathan Thompson and people like that.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
he's a dipshit, and I'm not scared to say that. Like he's a real life dipshit, a real one.
He's a total dick.
Yeah, I was very happy to see Maddie just be like, nope.
I would never debate Nathan because for me, he's one of the. Why would I waste my time with somebody who is so obviously brain damaged?
Yes.
Yeah, some people it's like trying to talk to Darth Dawkins. You're not getting through those guys.
Yeah.
I think
they are not going to hear it. One day it's going to smack them in the face. And one day, hopefully before they die, it'll smack them in the face and they'll realize. But, maybe not. They might just go to their deathbed thinking that same fucking shit no matter what we say to them.
Then silence.
I think that people who are qualified in the field, if they decide they feel like it, should absolutely take on people like Nathan Thompson because it allows other people who are maybe considering those ideas to see why they're dumb.
Right.
So, like when I mentioned my
childish behavior and screaming and yelling and just such an idiot.
Yeah. When I mentioned my friend Maddie over at Science Side Up when she debated Nathan Thompson, she is studying meteorology at the moment. So,
So she annihilated him.
Yes, she did.
She absolutely put him into a puddle of goo. And I wouldn't have watched it if she wasn't on there. But
here is your puddle of goo.
She handed him his arse.
My favorite Nathan story is still the one that came through so recently in the last year, where he got duped by the so-called Harvard students doing research who wore duck or chicken suits as protective gear. And Nathan absolutely sucked it all in 100%. He actually believed that these guys wearing chicken suits or wearing them because it protected them against nuclear something or other. Oh my God.
Okay, so note to everybody out there, if I'm building a really cool suit, it won't look like a chicken. If I'm building a nuclear proof suit, it won't be a chicken suit.
Well, the whole thing was a dupe. I mean, that they went into it that it was a joke. We're going to try and see if we can fool this guy, and they not only fooled him, that he absolutely believed it. Even when people were telling him, "No, they're lying to you. This is bullshit. These guys are making you look like a fool." He still believed them.
It's like, these guys are fucking with you.
Oh my goodness. I'm excited to see how this comes out with my ex and her girlfriend, get together with Arda. I think it's going to be an amazing thing.
Oh, now that Arda is gone, I can finally smoke this and turn my brain off.
Yeah, I know, right?
No, I will probably only have mine once we're off air, because despite being sore, you guys do not need to see me high on the screen.
I don't smoke anymore because I would be afraid to go on camera with me getting older, my brain is not working as well as it used to, and I know that I stutter and
I do. It's life. I do.
In mid sentence and lose track, and my brain is falling apart slowly.
Oh, it happens to me all the time.
Wow!
I got stoned. I just
So,
sit and drool.
so yesterday, Jenny, you would laugh. I was talking to Jen, and I went from my backyard into my garage, and I walked in my garage, and I was like, why the F did I walk in here? And Jen's like, you are not that old. You need to figure it the F out. You are not that
Don't you start that shit.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, oh, I completely forgot why I was. So I walked out, went in the backyard, was like, oh yeah, and then came back in.
I do that.
Thank you,
By the
Dave.
way, to all my English friends who may be in the chat, I'm having my Earl Grey here, and I just want you to know that I did microwave my water to a boil. Just
that physically pains me.
Even I have a tea kettle. I got a really cool one actually from a thrift store. It's really gothic.
I was actually thinking about buying one because I like tea, and I want to make iced tea in the summer, and I like to drink it. Sometimes I drink it. I mean, I'm a big chamomile person at night. But my coffee pot doesn't make it hot enough. And by the time it brews, it's cold. So, huh?
I have a kettle in my room.
Oh.
So I have a really American question, and this is more because it's starting to trigger my anxiety. So how caffeinated is your tea in the UK?
That is a good question. I think I have a thing of tea bags somewhere. Let me find it.
Because I drink black tea and green tea together, and I had to stop doing that because it has so much caffeine in it. It's more than even I drink with like a pot of coffee every day.
No, right.
Tea has way more caffeine.
I think it's green tea that's loaded with caffeine. I think it's got the highest caffeine.
Yeah, it has way more. That's why I started drinking the effing stuff in the first place 20 years ago. Tea is way more leaded.
It down, and I'm going to check.
Please do. Tea is way more leaded than coffee. And I don't even drink it anymore because it triggers my anxiety. Like it's so funny because I drink pots and pots of coffee, nothing happens. I drink tea and I'm like, oh, did I lock the door? Did I do this? Did I lock the side gate? It's
a cup of tea typically contains between 30 and 50 milligrams of caffeine.
Yeah. And a cup of coffee is about 80. So
no way.
Tea leaves contain 3.5% caffeine, while coffee beans have 1.1 to 2.2 percent. However, the coffee brewing process uses hot water, which extracts more of the caffeine from the beans. Therefore, 1 cup of brewed coffee generally has more caffeine than a cup of tea.
Plus, by weight, you use much more beans to make your coffee than you do tea leaves to make your tea. And so if you're going 1.2 versus 3 point something, you're greatly outweighing the tea.
Okay, I had to stop drinking that crap because it gave me
anxiety. That is not true, Theo.
Okay,
not only black tea has caffeine. Black tea, oolong, green tea, and
make it sexy. Make it sexy. Do a dance. Put a really cute skirt on it. I can't drink that stuff anymore. I miss it. I miss drinking tea. I would mainly get tea from Starbucks because it's so lit. It just whatever is in tea, it grabs me.
And it grabs you?
Oh, I'm just like, it's more than coffee.
There's only one tea in the world, and it's what grows off the Chinese bushes. Anything else they have that's chamomile tea or this or that tea is not tea. They use that word, but it is not tea.
I drink black tea.
It's an herbal drink.
Like Theo's saying,
it's not made out of tea leaves, right?
I would mix black and green, and I miss sitting in my backyard.
Those are drinking. 2 of the top 3 for caffeine: black, and then oolong, and then green. In that order.
Exactly. I mix them together.
Do you know that black and green are the same thing, except the green is picked earlier in the
yeah. Also,
yo entiende todo.
fun fact for people who are making tea: don't put your tea bag into actually still like bubbling, boiling water, because that just burns it.
I like burnt tea. Then I'm an American. I'm mad. I'm mad 'cause I can't drink it anymore. I'm so mad.
I can't stand the people who put the tea bag in for like a whole of 3 seconds.
Yeah, no, you know, that's why my coffee pot doesn't make it hot enough, because by the time my tea is brewed as dark as I like, because I like it to be dark.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I do add sugar to it.
What is the optimum brewing temperature?
Yeah, what is the optimum?
Ignition. You get it so hot, it's one step before ignition.
So it depends on the type of tea. Green tea, for example, I think it's 88 Celsius.
Okay.
88 Celsius?
I think.
So, well, no, that would be like 180 degrees Fahrenheit.
No, that's about right, because, well, I don't know if that's about right, but I knew when I worked at Starbucks, I worked at the one in West Hollywood, shocker. And this really bougie person would come in. I'm not going to say who they are, but they would say, I want my coffee at 170 degrees.
Oh my God.
And it came to the point where my boss was like, I can't do this anymore because I don't know if you're going to sue me or not. Because we would just keep steaming it, you know, just getting it hotter. And people are crazy.
Okay, so I Googled it. So it says water for white and green tea should generally be between 170 and 185 degrees Fahrenheit. Oolong should be brewed between 180 and 90, and black and herbal tea should be brewed between 208 and 212.
Whoa. Like I said, one step below ignition.
Yeah, like it should be hot, but it shouldn't be watery still like bubbling and shit hot.
Like just good steamy hot.
Yeah.
Not a little bit below a simmer, if you will.
What I think the problem people have with microwaving the water is that when you microwave water, you can actually get it to boil over 212 degrees. You can superheat water in a microwave to the point where it becomes dangerous.
Yes.
And it will explode if you put something of too much of a temperature differential.
Yes.
Yep.
And so you need to know your microwave well enough to know at what point does it start to boil. And
yeah, the other thing,
how I make my tea and how much water it uses, how many minutes it's in for, and what it does.
The other thing with that is that Brits specifically are very traditional, and so making it with anything except a kettle is basically unacceptable. You might get away with doing it in a pan on the hob.
Right. Damn, you know, I just realized I didn't eat dinner.
Oh. Now, this might seem like it's potentially random, but my brain did make a connection here. It's just occurred to me to say I earlier agreed to a debate, which is going to be interesting.
With who?
A person who on Twitter at least goes by Dead Kennedy.
Oh,
okay, I don't know who that is.
I've heard them because it reminds me of the band.
Yeah, Dead Kennedy. Yeah, right.
I know exactly.
Kennedy
is
a very smart guy.
It's gonna be on Agree to Disagree with the channel that Conspiracy Cats and Pine Creek from.
Oh, okay.
And I basically, they were looking for an interlocutor, and I was like, while I don't necessarily hold that position, I can defend that position. And the one thing that the debate is going to be on if the increase in diversity has reduced the quality of media effectively.
Oh, okay. You motherfuckers go.
Get over it. Get over yourself. People of color are on this planet, and they actually outnumber non-people of color like 9 to 1.
Now my position is that it's a dumb fucking question, but I'm quite happy to defend the position that is not the case.
So now race is on my list right next to the Bible of the two things I'm tired of talking about.
Race and the Bible. Well, you know, that's the thing is, I mean, I know we're all like a group of atheists, but I don't think that means that I have to talk about atheism all the time. or the Bible all the time,
or becoming
and people do that, and I'm just like, I don't want to fucking talk about it.
I heard
that's why I quit going to church, because I didn't want to talk about it anymore.
That's my whole defense. And I heard somebody say, I can't say without laughing. They were like, oh, I've never studied the Bible more than when I became an atheist. I screamed at my computer. I was like, then get an effing life. Get an effing life, bud. Like, you are wasting your time. I got so mad I made a video about it. That I was like, keep moving. If you free yourself, keep moving. Like, it's insane to me.
I think
I'm tired of atheists trying to tell me that I can't be an atheist because I don't follow their definition of what atheist is.
That too. That's on the list, Jenny. I'm writing that
down. The only thing that matters is that I don't believe in God. I don't believe in religion. It's all bullshit. Yep. And that's all I have to say.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
No, I agree.
I find it really funny that, like, I went through a phase for like 2 or 3 months where I was like, I want to study the Bible really in depth, and now I have sufficient working knowledge of it that I can argue with most Christians and be fine.
Right.
I 100% agree with Jenny on that point. That is literally my standpoint. What she just said. That is.
Yeah.
I'm over all of it.
Right. And everybody's like, well, you don't know. I don't need to know anything about the Bible. I'm not a Christian. I don't go to church.
I call that
that's part of it. I don't ask them to read books about vampires and whatever satanic shit they think we're into,
I call that the self-appointed deity syndrome. So someone loses God, then they get an audience, and they're like, wait a minute, all these people are listening to me. Now I'm somebody now. Like, no, you were bullshit before, you're bullshit now. It's okay. We're
we're all nobodies.
Yeah, all of us.
All of us.
Even recently.
If we weren't nobodies, we wouldn't be on fucking YouTube doing this shit.
Recently, somebody tried to tag me in drama, and other people were like, are you telling on this guy? Like, what are you doing? I think people sometimes it's an old school saying, it's an ancient Chinese saying, but it's not that serious.
It's not that serious.
Yeah. My parents used to say that all the time, and it pisses me off, but it's kind of true. Like,
see, but that's my thing. It's not that serious. And you think about all these people that spend all this time on YouTube talking about religion, whether they're religious or they're not. Just think about all the time they spend.
Yes.
What kind of good could they do with their lives at that time?
Okay.
I mean, they spend like all their waking hours when they're not at work and fucking their wives and boyfriends.
So I wish I took a picture. I wish I took a picture. So today, somebody was still sending me messages, okay? I'm in the backyard with my son. He's in the pool. I'm sitting there smoking a J, getting a tan.
Right.
Hold on one second.
See, I being very neurodivergent, a lot of neurodivergent people have dopamine-based. The phrase is, I think, dopamine-centered nervous systems or something, wherein basically it's actually physically very difficult to do something if I'm not already enthusiastic about it. Like, shit's hard to do in the first place, but if I don't want to do it, it's going to be even more difficult to do, to the point where, like, I will just spend all day talking about something I'm interested in rather than do a really simple thing that won't give me any dopamine. And I think because of this, I've ended up talking about religion a lot because it's a thing that I find interesting and I enjoy, and I've gone, fuck it, I'm just going to enjoy myself.
No, I do.
But a bunch of people get heated over it, and it's like, why are you doing this if you don't enjoy it?
So I agree. Like,
right.
I watch this guy called Ken Humphreys. I think I just like hearing him talk. You know what I'm saying? But he talks, he gets really deep into the Bible and like Philo of Alexandria and how come this person never wrote about Jesus. That I love it, but I'm still not going to go out and preach about it. Like, it adheres to, it makes me feel better that this guy may have not existed. My old imaginary friend, but I'm not going to go out and tell other people about that, like, Come to your own conclusion. And that's my thing. One of the reasons I stopped watching the news is because they tell you what to think. Why the F am I going to come on YouTube and start watching people who tell me what to think? You know?
Yeah, if I want somebody to tell me what to think, I go back to church.
I go back to watching MSNBC, and I like Rachel Maddow.
Yeah.
You know? But what I'm saying is, like, I'm telling you, I made a video about it because I woke up angry one day, and it's, you know, you got to free yourself. There's a lot of people who, you know, there's one thing about getting direction in your life, and there's another about just giving yourself away to another, like, culty religion, you know, or just throwing yourself into something, you know. It's like the same thing happens in Narcotics Anonymous and Alcoholics Anonymous. They get sober, and then they get this euphoria. It's not because of the crowd. It's not because of the indoctrination. It's because you're sober. It's because you're not on drugs. It's not because of the crap they're preaching to you. It's because you were drinking coffee and smoking cigarettes with your friends and sobering up. You know, that's really what it was. There's no mumbo jumbo or magic behind it. You know,
right.
As you can tell, I'm not a fan of Narcotics Anonymous. Or I think it's a cult and it should be outlawed.
I mean, I know there's people that go there and get good stuff out of it, but that's what they're doing. They're just preaching God to people. And they got to do a prayer and say the serenity prayer. And
I had a bad experience. And so because of that, I do not have a positive view on them at all. At all. I think it's a cult. And be careful if you send your mom to Narcotics Anonymous or Alcoholics Anonymous. She's going to meet someone like me when she's 50. And I'm going to rock her world. And your dad, too.
See, I actually had a friend who I heard say to... I had a friend who I heard say to like a straight person that was bugging them. It was like, go away before I decide if I want to steal your girlfriend or your dad.
Yeah, I love that line. I love that line. And do you know, I got the I'm almost there, Simply Secular Dave. My kid's about to be picked up. So I'm like I'm on the I'm almost free countdown. On the weekends, my son goes with his mom. So that's when I start rolling stuff like this.
Party!
But now, you know, now that I didn't light it, I'm going to wait until after he gets picked up now. Because when, and you know, Cadence was 100% right. I am awful at pronunciating people's names. I'm awful at pronunciating English.
That is fair.
She said
also,
that.
Will, not to compare size or anything, Will, but yours is significantly bigger.
This is three papers.
Oh my God.
They're having sales. They're having super sales right now. And so I'm I was like, oh, I want that. I call it the old guy. I the top shelf stuff makes me feel like I'm on acid or mushrooms.
Really?
So I don't, and it's because
I'm too cheap to try it.
Some of that stuff, man, I'm surprised it's legal, and I'm pro all drugs being legal. But there was one time I smoked pot, and I was literally holding on to the couch. I'm sitting there like, holy crap, this is some strong stuff. And I knew, you know, it was nothing spiritual. I knew it was just, no, you're really, 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 really high.
Really,
you know?
really, right.
So I've learned that a lot of this new age stuff kicks the crap out of me, because even in my day, we smoked like skunk weed. Like, you know, we smoked whatever whatever the dealer had. It was never like, oh, can I get an indica or sativa? And I would like an orange taste.
We didn't even know what that shit was, man. No.
They just handed it to us.
Like, do you want the good shit or the reg?
Exactly.
What do you want? How much money you got right now?
Quite literally. Quite. So I had to learn, you know, that some of that top shelf stuff will put my dick in the dirt, you know.
Look what Dave said. Pronunciating, it's easy to pronounce words correctly when you're just making them up.
I wasn't going to say anything.
I didn't want to say anything either.
I do things like that on purpose.
But now that it's out of the bag.
No, I do the things like that on purpose because grammar Nazis, I drive them insane. And so I'm okay with myself. You should see when Stool or like the older UK people that used to get beat with rulers, when I'm in the same room, they're like, no, that's not how it's said. No, it is just an affront to English.
And then there's me, who's just like British person, but like words are made up. So what the fuck?
Oh my god!
I went to the Mike Tyson School of English. You know,
bro.
I went to a lot. I got a lot of speech therapy as a kid. I still be talking like this because I have a giant tongue, so I still be talking like this. But I learned to pronunciate my words and open my effing mouth. You know.
I used to have the weirdest fucking stutter.
Me too. I was a Sylvester as a kid, so I used to talk like this.
That proper word in that sentence that you said would have been enunciate.
I told you I drive people crazy because I could care less. You understood what I was saying?
Pronouncing them and enunciating them are two different things.
Hey, B, could I poke you to check private chat? So the thing about stutter is that I used to I'd take 3 words, I'd split the middle word in 2 and stick those 2 bits on the other end, at the start and end of the surrounding words. I can't even replicate it now. But that's how I used to speak.
Give me one quick second.
Yeah, go ahead.
And I watch old videos of me and I'm just like, how did anyone understand a word I said when I was like 8?
Right. Yeah, my mom was really big on that stuff. And we used to say, Mom, you're a science teacher, not an English teacher. And she'd say, I'm your mother, I'm your everything teacher. That's not how you say that. Stop it. And ain't a word.
Ain't so.
I really pissed my mum off. 1, because she tried to get me to grow up speaking the Queen's English without an accent. And 2, because I will use words like ain't and weren't.
Ain't and weren't?
Yeah. I will. Well, that ain't so bad. Or, I weren't over there.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, I don't use those words.
It is.
I guess what my mom taught us stuck with me because I don't ever.
I'm very Yorkshire. Despite not living in Yorkshire, I am very Yorkshire.
Right. Okay. I know, Theo, it doesn't make any sense that it's like that.
Yeah.
We just have to fuck with shit. It's true. Yeah, I'm gonna wait for Will to get back, and then we're gonna kill this here in a little bit. I'm gonna go get something to eat and go do some trolling on YouTube.
If anyone particularly wants anything to do after this, I think Modern Day Debate have a thing on, and I think the Atheist Roundtable have a thing on.
Oh, I'll go to the Roundtable first.
Yeah, I think they have. I think they have some sort of show with Eddie on this evening, so that should be interesting. I've had a couple of conversations with Eddie over at Tart recently, although it's more over at Brute Facts podcast, I guess, because.
Well, yeah. Leah podcast is starting any minute now.
Oh, do they have a thing this evening?
Yeah, it says 4:09, and 10 minutes ago. So they must be waiting on them because they haven't gone live yet.
Fair. Also, thanks, Dave. Yeah, figures that Modern Day Debate will be doing a flat Earth thing.
Yeah, I know, man. That's the thing is, they either talk about flat Earth or something to do with the Bible. There's just no. I mean, there's other shit to talk about.
James's platform could be something really good if he wasn't so anything goes with it. I just feel like modern day debate is going to turn out to be the next non-sec, but there's only one person running it, so less lawsuits.
Right. No doubt. Yeah, I don't know. It's just, you know, when I first got on YouTube, I like watched that shit, and now it's just the same stuff, and it's the same people recycled, and once in a while they get somebody in there new that says something a little different, but it's usually just the same damn people over and over again. It's the same, like, 12 people.
It's the same reason
oh my
that,
God,
like,
I don't want to do it.
Even as someone who was trying to kind of learn how things work in like the online atheist community and stuff, coming in kind of as a pagan, it was like there's only so much shit that's just knock off the atheist experience that I can watch.
Right.
You do realize though that this whole YouTube community that we're in, all we really do is invite each other onto these shows, and it's the same people, the same ways, just different person is the host. Now this person's the host, now that person's the host. But it's
that's why I try to do different stuff, because you're right. Everybody does that.
I'm not so much complaining. It's just okay. This is what it is.
Right.
It's all right.
Yeah, that's very true. And I'm trying to. I think with my channel, I want to do things that are like slightly different and branch out a bit, but are kind of in the same vein.
Let the fiesta begin.
It is Friday night. I am finally kid free. I will officially light this.
Light it up.
And this hat is authentic because I got it in Mexico. You see, that is what adults do.
I do not.
My ex-wife pulled up. We said, "What's up, dude? What's up, bro?" I told her what's going on, and we moved on with our lives. Happy weekend, I told her. My neighbor.
I heard a thing the other day that I mostly agree with, but I think I would change slightly, because what was said was, look what happens when you give gay people adult money. They turn into fucking fantasy characters. So it might be more accurate to say cartoon characters.
Oh my goodness. But no, you're right, Jenny. That is what happens, and that's why I try to, like, if I hear somebody on somebody's channel and they're like in the chat, or they came on for a quick thing but they're not on there all the time and they're kind of floating around YouTube like Arda, I was like, "Ooh, I want to talk to you." And as soon as I saw her in the chat, I was like, "That's it. I want to talk to her. I want to talk to her." Because she was just the shit she was saying.
But she was elegant, well-spoken, and she wasn't like the guy you had on 2 weeks ago. That was he was awesome. His cause is great, but he thinks COVID is a hoax. Oh, what was his name?
What are you talking about?
The Cop Watch guy.
Oh, Joe. Yeah, Joe.
Great guy, but he believes in woo-woo. He believes in real life woo-woo. Like, you can't combat stuff like that.
But see, I don't know anything about him other than what he does on the streets, because I see that on YouTube.
But
because he goes live all the time, and he'll be like, "Oh, hey, what we got here?" And and all you can see is what he's looking at, and he just turns the camera with him.
Oh, so there really
the phone with him.
Oh, so there really is a fire. Someone called the fire department. Oh, the cops are going to be coming. Let me close my door.
You might want to.
Somebody probably called the fire department. When my ex
they smelled you like that shit, man.
No, when my ex ex pulled up right now,
started some smoke.
There's a strip. I live next to a freeway, so there's a sound wall by my house, and there's a street. There's a strip, and people street race back there, and so we saw a fire, and I'm like, oh, it happens all the time, but I think it might actually be a real one. Oh, closing the door. Cops are coming. Oh, sorry. Hold on one second.
You're fine.
Why do you have to close the door?
Oh, I'm just not a fan of the cops. The fire department is amazing. They do amazing work here.
Really?
It's just the cops, like they prey on people of color. They really wouldn't mess with me. I just don't give them an opportunity to.
Well, you know, I keep telling people that the best thing to do in these days and times is keep yourself out of those situations as much as possible. That's all you can do right now. And that goes for anybody that's targeted for anything.
It's a sad commentary that you feel you have to close your door just because the cops are present. When you're in your own home, you haven't done anything. They're here for a different reason, and you still have to close your door.
Oh, I want absolutely nothing.
No, you're right.
That's one of the reasons why I want to move, because I'm telling you, I lived in racist Mesa, Arizona, and I never felt like this. The cops left me alone. The cops, like, I'd get pulled over, it was all business, and I rarely got pulled over, you know. But it's I don't have a trust for the police.
Yeah, I don't blame you. God damn it.
And hey, my ex was right. They are birding in the backyard. She's the one with the glasses on. Crazy. Friday night. It's lit. We already got the cops and the fire department out.
I don't blame you for closing it, because the bottom line is if you're in the garage and you have a garage door open, then they're more likely to walk in than they would to your house.
Exactly. And that's the thing. The cops are just bored and curious. And it always, like, the cops out here, they don't back down. And I don't look my age. And I'll tell them to their face, like, you could go right over there. I don't even want the back and forth with someone that has the wit of a 15-year-old with a gun.
I don't know what's worse, the fact that that's funny or the fact that that's true.
You see?
Dave, read that, Will. As a white 50-plus male Canadian, I would check out the fire in a muscle shirt and that sombrero while smoking pot.
Exactly. Exactly. And that's another thing. I stick out like
Will looks like a white guy. He would do that too and get away with it.
I stick out.
I have more privilege now than I used to before transition.
Hold on one second. I'll be right back. I gotta take.
I get out of speeding tickets all the time.
Really?
Cops say hello to you if you happen to be, say, at a convenience store at the same time they are. They're pleasant to you.
The fuck, Sam?
It's really unfair. I mean,
Will, who was that?
That was possibly me. I forget the ice machine is so loud.
Oh, yes, that's what it sounded. It sounded like ice going into a glass. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, I am making myself a drink before I go out for a smoke because my throat gets dry.
Right. Well, I'm gonna end this here in a minute, anyways. Let everybody get on with their night. So I'm gonna go eat dinner. And dinner. Probably a burger again. You gotta eat it all before it goes bad, you know.
What is this dinner you speak of? It's 10 to 4 in the morning.
Okay, well, you go to bed and then go eat your breakfast, and I'll eat dinner and go to bed.
I could go make a potato.
I will still not be in bed for a little bit.
Wow. Yeah, no, Von Rick, somebody out there has a life. I mean, it's not me. If I'm not working, then, and I'm not on here, I'm really not doing anything.
Oh, I haven't had a life for 40 years. Why should I start now?
Right? Fuck it. Hey, this is part of my life. I enjoy talking to everybody, and I enjoy my friends, and I wish I could meet everybody in person, but that would be very hard.
Yeah, it really would.
Like, Will's probably the closest one to me that I know of, besides Robert Reed would be the closest person I know of to me.
Yeah. I mean, if any of you are ever over my neck of the woods, give me a ping or whatever.
You know what? I was gonna throw a fucking hamburger in the air fryer, and he's over here talking about roast and mashed potatoes. Fuck you, Dave. That's it. I'm ending the broadcast. Fuck you, Dave. Anyways, so everybody, thanks for coming. I really like talking to Arda. We're gonna have to try to get her on again.
Yeah.
It's always nice to come, Jenny. Yes.
And remember, it's such a Friday night fiesta that I got the fire department. I put this hat on and the fire department shows up. It's Friday night.
That's how hot it is. Caliente, mi amigo. So everybody,
I know what you just said.
What? What?
Caliente, mi amigo.
Yeah.
I know what that means.
You don't know what it means? You
I do know what it means.
Oh yeah.
Which is pretty unusual for a white chick in Minnesota.
Yeah, I don't know shit either. I mean, I learned all the words I use now. I learned before I even got here. So, you know, maybe one day I'll meet like an awesome Spanish chick that'll teach me some shit. All right, so everybody, take care of yourselves. Take care of each other.
Don't tell us what to do.
Enjoy whatever time of your evening you have left, and thank you so much for coming by. I appreciate every one of you, and especially you guys that come in the panel all the time. Thank you so much. Bye, everybody.